Hello to you all and welcome to IMPROVATE's Cleantech and Renewable Energy 2021 International Conference. I'm Lauren Iso. IMPROVATE is a platform for creating long-lasting connections, enabling change makers in technology and decision makers in government to make progress through innovation. IMPROVATE is all about finding solutions and sparking collaborations that improve the quality of life for people around the world. Today's broadcast will be dedicated to green energy technologies and solutions. Governments around the world are investing billions of dollars to promote sustainable technologies and combat climate change. This provides unprecedented opportunities for technology companies in the clean tech sector. And today we will be hearing from energy, environment, and infrastructure ministers and top experts from Greece, Poland, Bulgaria, Romania, Slovakia, Serbia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Ethiopia, and Tanzania. We will also hear from Cleantech fund Capital Nature and leading Israeli technology and innovation companies, Chakratec, Airovation Technologies, MayMaan, UBQ Materials, Luminescent Power, Qnergy, and Phinergy. And as always, watching along with us are representatives of investment funds from around the world who are looking to invest in Israeli innovation. The first topic we will discuss today is how renewables contribute to national security. Reliable electricity supply is essential to the functioning of a modern economy, and renewables cut out dependence on unstable supply chains and reduce environmental damages from the burning of fossil fuels. With us here in the studio is Dr. Jaroslav Czwek-Karpowicz from the Polish Embassy in Tel Aviv and Dr. Roy Posmanek of Neve Yaar Research Center at the Volcani Institute. Welcome. We will come back to you both shortly. But first, joining us now is Rosen Plevneliev, former president of Bulgaria and a member of the IMPROVATE Advisory Board. President Plevneliev, great to have you with us again.
Good morning. I'm very proud to be with you and very thankful for sharing with you some thoughts about the future.
We are happy to have you with us as well. Now, Europe is dependent on foreign and often geopolitically unstable regions for its oil supplies. What is the role of renewables in addressing this imbalance?
Well, it's the solution. First of all, let me really say how much I am proud of being with you today on this another very important IMPROVATE conference. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, excellencies, we have ministers, deputy ministers, scientists, corporate leaders all over the world, from Africa to Southeast Europe today. And I'm very proud to be with you, very proud also to participate, to be in the heart of what IMPROVATE is dreaming on, and that is to bring in a very efficient way politics and businesses together, to take decisions, to bring results. And today we're talking about a better planet, about a better future for our children. And this is not possible without acting. And all of us, we understand the urgency of the situation and we act. I was so proud as a president of Bulgaria to put my signature on the global SDGs, that we had a global consensus. I was very proud also to negotiate and put my signature on the Paris Climate Accord. And that is a plan for the planet to go. But we need to act and we need to be very efficient, not just political talking, but acting. And here we need the business. Politics is to create a framework and business to fill this vacuum with new technologies, new ideas. And I'm very excited because talking about clean tech, talking about renewables, we're just in the beginning of an amazing revolution ahead of us. Countries are ambitious. They understand the urgency, the importance of what we have to achieve for the climate accords, and we are acting. I'm very proud because if you look at Bulgaria, in Bulgaria or the European Union, we achieved our target by 2020 to receive with 20% our gas emissions and to get 20% of our energy from renewables. And now we're setting more ambitious targets. By 2030, we need to cut emissions by 55%. And by 2050, the European Union, Bulgaria, Poland, all those wonderful countries, we want to be neutral on the gas emissions. And that's what we need to do. So, of course, it's security. And to get 20% linked to countries that pay a very high price if they don't catch up with the technologies of the future. And the renewables and the clean tech is something that is going to change everything in our lives for the next 15, 20 years. The way we work, the way we produce, the way we travel, the way we communicate, that is all going to change. And we're going to talk today about that with Israel, which is a cutting-edge technology country and a leading innovator in the world. So greenhouses are important to be reduced for our children, but energy as a whole has always been and is part of our security. And we're going to talk today about that a lot.
Sir, throughout history, with each significant revolution in technology, the nations that adopted it most effectively have achieved profound advantages. What will the advantages be for those nations that lead the clean energy revolution?
There is a huge market. There is a huge potential ahead of us. It's even today difficult to imagine the size of the money, of the investments, of dramatic change that is coming ahead of us. And of course, opportunities are given, but also opportunities are taken. Those countries that are with a new wave of clean tech and renewable energies technologies, they will be benefiting heavily from the new economy and the new industry coming ahead of us. And those countries who just stay comfortably on old technologies, on coal, on technologies that have to stay with the past and do not belong to the future, they will pay heavy price if they do not transform. Let me talk about even my country and the European Union. We have agreed total consensus on the biggest package in human history. That is the European Green Deal of $1 trillion euros available for clean tech and renewables. And we understand that this is going to shape and transform everything: transportation, factories, communications, energy, the way we produce, and the way we live. And the European Union is very ambitious. Now we created also a roadmap. We created even a special law that is going to help all the countries to keep and bring results to the promises we made to our children. But look at what the new administration in the United States is doing, and that's extremely encouraging. President Joe Biden has passed even a bigger plan, which is $1.9 trillion, a new package. And it's not just linked to recover from the crisis. It is linked to bringing the future, bringing the new technologies. And that is also a huge potential for the companies, for the markets. Talking about my country, for example, we are increasing by 500% increase of investments in renewables. We are going to invest billions of dollars into changing our coal plants and coal power plants to gas and oxygen powered. We're changing the cars. There is a huge potential. You see, for example, how fast the European Union became even a bigger market for electric cars than the United States itself. That shows the statistic in the last months. The change is happening in extremely high speed. And that is why IMPROVATE is here today to help world-leading companies from Israel understand and bring solutions to the vast American and European markets that are ambitious to change their technologies and grab the new Green Deal and the new Green opportunity.
All right, Mr. President, thank you so much for that. Please don't go anywhere. We will come back to you shortly with some more questions.
Thank you.
But first, moving on now to Dr. Jaroslav Ćwek-Karpowicz, currently works for the Polish Embassy in Tel Aviv. He deals with economic and scientific cooperation between Poland and Israel. He's also Associate Professor of International Relations at the University of Warsaw. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for the invitation.
So perhaps you could tell us about how Israel and the EU are cooperating in the field of renewable energy.
Well, actually, Europe is very much engaged in development of clean and green technologies in Israel for many years, actually, from the middle of 90s. All the most important investments in desalination facilities in Sorek, Hadera, or quite recently, big investments, solar power plant in Negev, can be realized partly due to the European money. So through the European Investment Bank, Europe invested more than $1 billion US in different projects. And this is very important part of EU-Israel energy cooperation. I think another part is research cooperation. Israeli researchers are very, very active in this regard, and with European colleagues, they try to invent the best solutions and apply them in different places. For example, thanks to the Polish-Israeli cooperation, a company Cleantech founded waste managing facility in South Africa and is trying to use per year 60,000 tons of waste and produce pure plastic. So there are many, many examples of Polish-Israeli or another European countries cooperation in this regard. I think now the main challenge for Israel, who for many years was perceived as an energy island, is connection, be connected through the electricity cable, through the gas pipelines to the neighboring countries, also including European Union through the Cyprus and Greece. And this is something new, very difficult in terms of geopolitics, because different countries, East Mediterranean countries has different opinions. But I think that this is the very important project to connect Israel through the Cyprus and Greece to the EU network, electricity network, and maybe also gas network.
Interesting. And how do the energy security and climate policies of Poland and Israel compare to one another?
A few years ago, both countries were facing a challenge how to escape from coal dependency into natural gas. And for Israel, it was much easier because you have your own natural gas deposits. However, Poland focused on LNG and importing of natural gas from different markets. However, I think that recently the situation changed dramatically. Renewables are not perceived anymore as a supplementary energy sources, but rather as a core energy source. And this is a huge challenge both for Israel and to Poland. How to develop renewables, but also how to transform the whole system, which based historically on the big main power production and consumers. Now we have completely different model. People may consume, but at the same time also produce energy. So we may say that the whole energy system, electricity system, network, probably in the future will be much more decentralized, much more, let's say, democratic, and the role of state, national states, it's completely different. It's not now the main investors and planner, but rather a facilitator of cooperation between society, private sector, and administration. And I think that in this regard, Poland and Israel may also cooperate and exchange our views how we implement different solutions. Of course, Poland as a member of European Union has completely different, let's say, environmental conditions. Israel is much more independent state in this regard. However, we both have very ambitious climate targets, and our governments want to achieve these targets smoothly.
Okay, Dr. Karpowicz, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Welcome.
Moving on now to Capital Nature, which is a leading Israeli investment company in the sustainability and renewable energy sections and is holding a diverse portfolio in those sectors. Let's take a look. Dr. Avi Luvchik is VP of Business Development at Capital Nature. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So please tell us a little bit about what Capital Nature is all about.
Okay, so Capital Nature is basically an investment company which actually invests in early stage technologies which address the global warming issues that all over the world. We invest anything relating to energy storage, smart transportation, smart cities, etc. And our unique portfolio today consists of 9 companies in different stages. Some of them are very large companies, some of them in the very beginning stages of their life. But the one thing that actually connects all of these companies that they have a specific, unique technology that actually can have destructive technology for those kind of problems that we're facing today.
So you have a very interesting and unique portfolio. Can you describe the specific companies that are inside of that?
Well, yeah. In our portfolio, we can divide the portfolio to different segments. Some of the first segment is we can call it like the energy storage segment. In the energy storage, we have Ogwind, we have Chakratec, and we have Silip. Ogwind is a very large company that actually developed a unique technology based on the compressed air to solve some of the problem of both of the industries and the energy storage for renewable energy. Chakratec have developed a technology for electric vehicle market for fast charging, and Silip has developed a very unique technology for batteries based on silicon batteries. The other segment is smart transportation. We have Electrion in that portfolio. We have TrackNet and we have RoadSense. Electrion can actually reduce the necessity of batteries, of larger batteries, to take electric vehicles like buses and trucks. You actually can electrify the buses and the trucks using the roads itself. TrackNet has a specific smart transportation platform to have a match between empty trucks and cargo. We know that today we have approximately 30% of the trucks driving on the roads empty. So when we know when we have the cargo and we know exactly when we have the truck, we can actually connect between the trucks and the cargo itself. We also have some companies like Airovation and Electrion, and Airovation and Blade Ranger. Blade Ranger have a unique autonomous robot to clean panels, and Airovation has a energy harvester solution for IoT, Industry 4.0, etc., etc.
So, Avi, what are the factors that position Capital Nature as a leading investment company within the clean tech industry?
Well, I think that many companies know how to invest in portfolio companies. But the thing that we know is, first of all, we understand the market. We do know what is the next. We don't know, but we think that we understand what is the best solution for the next few years. And we actually put ourselves in the company. We just invest the money, but we also accompany the company through its life from the very first beginning to bring the companies for large companies, basically.
All right, Dr. Luvchik, thank you so much for your insights today.
Thanks, thank you.
Okay, let's move now to Dr. Roy Posmanek. He's from the Neve Yaar Research Center at the Volcani Institute, specializing in the extraction of renewable energy and agricultural nutrients from food production waste streams. Thank you again for being with us in the studio today. So can you please break down for us exactly how energy is extracted from waste, and also where does your research currently stand in terms of practical applications?
Okay, so organic waste contain a lot of carbon in the form of residual sugars, protein, lipids. But this organic matter also has a lot of oxygen. So the first step you need to do to make it, convert it to energy, you have to get rid of the oxygen. And that can be done via lots of processes, biological processes, thermochemical processes. But the bottom line is to produce an energy material with the minimum amount of oxygen. So a classic example for this kind of processes is the well-known anaerobic digestion that use microorganisms to ferment organic matter into methane gas that can be efficiently burned to produce heat and power. So the current research for your question is actually trying to optimize all those processes and considering the overall, to minimize the overall carbon footprint of those processes. And I'm working at the Volcani Institute. I'm coming from the production point of view. And I think that the fact that we are, we recognize that we have responsibility for the waste that we produce along the production chain. This is the first step of make this planet, more sustainable in this term.
Interesting. Okay, Dr. Postmanik, stay with us. We will come back to you again, I promise. All right, let's move on now to MayMaan Research, who is reinventing the internal combustion engine with its aqua-stroke cycle and a modified piston engine that utilizes affordable, clean, and renewable fuel derived from water and ethanol. Let's watch their presentation and see just how they do it.
Thank you, Lauren. My name is Eitan Shmueli, and I am the CEO of MayMaan Research. And I want to thank IMPROVATE for inviting me and my company to present our innovative technology in this important conference on this important subject. I would like to start by showing you my presentation and then a short video of our technology.
MayMaan Research is a company that is located in the US, dedicated to find an immediate and practical solution for global pollution. We are all aware of a problem we have with the pollution. And as you know, there is a lot of attempt to solve this problem with the electric vehicle, with hydrogen fuel cells, with many different applications. The problem is that though all those solutions are targeting usually personal transportation, they do not target ships, they do not target generators, they're just concentrated on electric vehicle. But the problem is much bigger than just vehicles. We can blame all this problem on the internal combustion engine. And we're right, there is over 2 billion internal combustion engine in use today. There are in trucks, in ships, in airplane, in almost anything, almost any device or machine, there's an internal combustion engine. And while those engines are working and polluting, there is trillions of dollars that invested in some solutions like hydrogen fuel cells, like electric vehicle, but all of them are just targeting specific application. They're limited and they do not make the impact that we need on a timely manner. The problem is simple and practical. We are still using the regular internal combustion engine, but we're fueling it with 70% water and 30% ethanol. It can be used for almost any application that internal combustion engine is used today. It's clean, it's powerful, and the best thing about it, there is a very, very short time to market. So basically, we take a regular internal combustion engine, modifying it to work with our fuel. That engine produces a higher torque, lower emission, higher efficiency, and it's fully scalable to any size engine. Generally, it's working by mixing our water with ethanol and pumping it through a very high pressure pump and injecting it directly into the combustion chamber of a modified combustion engine. We're also adding a hydrogen enriched air that we produce on board via electrolysis. The first use of our technology in a real product is in generators. We already built a line of generators starting with a 40 kilowatt generator that is fully working, fully operational, and fully tested. We are currently placing it around the world with different companies to show and prove the emissions, the output, the efficiency, the cost of electricity, which drops down. There are many advantages to our system and fuel. I like to just point a few of them that are very, very important. One is that the fueling is very simple. It's not like hydrogen that need to be compressed. It's not like natural gas. It's very easy to transport, just like regular fuel that we used to. The engine, it's based on the same engine, so it doesn't cost more. It produces a very high torque. There is so many infrastructure for production around the world that will enable us to penetrate the market very, very quickly. There is also a retrofit option for large engines like locomotives, cargo ships, etc. In this slide, I'd like to show you a chart that comparing our technology and solution to other solutions that are today. If you'll notice, we can produce the same vehicle for the same cost of a gasoline car. That's well below a hybrid electric or hydrogen fuel cell. At the same time, the operational cost is lower than even an electric car. The same goes for power generation. We are able to produce a kilowatt hour on the same size generator at about 50% of the cost. The technology is fully matured and tested. It was tested by FEV, a major engineering firm. We already been granted over 10 patents around the world.
I hope you enjoy our presentation and looking forward to hear from you. Together, we can make a big change on our small planet. Thank you very much.
Welcome to a new era of energy. Introducing the Aquastroke combustion cycle. In the attempt to stop global pollution and find a clean replacement for the fossil-fueled internal combustion engine, billions of dollars have been invested in complicated technologies that will take decades to reach the market on a large scale, with very limited applications and uses. Our researchers and engineers have completed the development of a practical solution by reinventing the internal combustion engine with a clean fuel to run it. Aquastroke is an innovative system, enabling our ICE engines to efficiently operate on 70% water and 30% ethanol or other alcohol. It massively reduces emissions without major infrastructural changes to fueling or production. With many applications and uses, our technology will impact over 2 billion internal combustion engines currently in use around the world. MayMaan have started the revolution by building the world's first water ethanol-fueled power generator for prime and backup power generation, reducing kilowatt-hour costs by up to 50%. The revolution continues with its use in cars and trucks that drive clean without limited range anxiety or high capital costs. How does it work? Our fuel is comprised of 70% water and 30% ethanol or other alcohol. It is pumped in a very high pressure and injected directly into a modified combustion chamber of a conventional piston engine. Initiated by a spark, the Aquastroke cycle is created by using the thermal and pressure properties of a newly designed combustion chamber and fuel. The engine works at a higher efficiency and torque, emitting clean steam and water vapor through the tailpipe. The application and uses of our technology and engine are unlimited. The obvious use is automotive, because the engine modification will not change the price of the car or manufacturing infrastructure, and fueling can be done in the usual way. Our proprietary combustion cycle and engines can be used for clean power generation of any size, and for backup or prime power at substantial savings in operating costs without harming the environment. The technology is fully scalable to any size engine. It can be used in a bus or truck as the main powertrain or as a range extender, reducing the battery costs and weight. Recently, we received global coverage by the media because of the increased interest in our technology. We were honored to receive the Jerusalem Post's Innovation of the Year Award at the International Diplomatic Conference. We are comprised of industry leaders and major business and technology players who are directing our company to be the world leader in the green revolution for sustainable energy and economy. While the world cannot wait decades for a climate change solution, we have the technology that can be implemented today, from generators, cars, and trucks to locomotives and cargo ships. Our journey begins today toward a safer and better world. Join us and be a part of the most important technology of the 21st century.
All right, Eitan Shmueli from MayMaan Research, thank you so much for that fascinating presentation. Let's speak now with Julian Popov, who is a fellow of the European Climate Foundation. He's also chairman of the Building Performance Institute Europe, which has a global climate-neutral built environment, and is the former environment minister of Bulgaria. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
The Building Performance Institute seeks to improve the energy efficiency of buildings, which is something most people probably aren't aware of. Just how much energy do office buildings consume, and what kind of technologies are used to reduce their carbon footprint?
In general, buildings consume 40% of energy, and they produce around 36% of CO2 emissions. In different environments, in different countries, the share of office buildings is different, but predominantly it's the residential buildings. When we talk about new technologies that should be introduced to buildings, we very often hear at the moment two schools of thought. We need gas, and this is something that you very often would hear in East European countries. Or recently, we hear a lot, no, gas is not going to work, it's hydrogen. My view is neither of these two. The thing is that the European Union has a very firm commitment to 55% reduction of emissions by 2030 on the base of 1990, and gas is becoming increasingly questionable fuel. I mean, if we look at the latest price of CO2 emissions, it is going towards, last week it was 40 euros per ton. That starts to make gas quite expensive. I mean, it's true that this is applied mainly to generation, but also it's very likely to expand this price to also to buildings. So then the question is, okay, why should we not replace that with hydrogen? And this is a great debate about buildings, whether the hydrogen can replace gas. But this hydrogen should be green hydrogen, so produced from renewables. So the hydrogen produced from renewables is still very expensive and will be expensive, and it will have a major role in industry, but I personally think that it is not going to work on a mass scale in heating in buildings. So my bet would be heat pumps and high insulation of buildings. High level of insulation of the building envelope is absolutely essential. We ignore it very often because it's a kind of a boring technology rather than something grand like hydrogen or pipelines. But this combination will be the consistent change.
Sir, a question now for one of your many other hats. As a fellow of the European Climate Foundation, tell us about how clean energy solutions can create economic growth, social justice, and a better quality of life for all.
Well, I mean, starting with buildings, improving of the energy performance of a building, that means many other things. It means clean air. It means the so-called temperature comfort of buildings, better living standards, and many other benefits. Other ways is in Central and Eastern Europe, we have quite a serious problem with very high employment, but relatively low value-added employment. So the reason for that is that many new companies are at the lower end of value-added. So salaries are low, and correspondingly, living standards cannot go up. So new technologies in the clean sector can give a major boost to old industrial regions. One area which is very, very interesting is the old coal regions, which could become major hubs of new clean energy technology and clean industry technologies. So that could give the opportunity for these regions which had quite strong economic performance in the past, but it's declining now, to become centers of the new technological world. And they have a very interesting potential. So for example, if we look at the large lignite coal power plant, it has enormous potential for large-scale solar without taking away any agricultural land, for instance. Also, the IT technologies. I mean, the new energy is largely IT technology-based, so that is high-paid and very important. So the opportunities are endless.
All right, Mr. Julian Popov, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on now, inspired by nature's solution for packaging, Daphna Nissenbaum is the CEO and co-founder of TIPA, a groundbreaking food tech company that is paving the way forward to solving the global plastic packaging crisis. TIPA is a pioneer in the flexible packaging industry, providing a sustainable alternative to conventional plastic. Inspired by nature, TIPA's compostable packaging solutions combine superior quality with a sustainable end-of-life solution. Take a look.
TIPA. We took inspiration from nature, emulating how fruit is packaged, and created compostable packaging that decomposes within a few months. We tested TIPA's packaging alongside conventional plastic. Look what happened. Nature's packaging is compostable. Why should ours be any different? TIPA, inspired by nature.
Daphna, thank you so much for joining us today, and I have to say I really loved that video.
Me too, thank you.
All right, I want to start by asking you, what vision does TIPA present for the global plastic issue, and how does it offer a solution to this problem?
So we've been using plastic for packaging around 60, 70 years now. And you know, every piece of plastic that was ever manufactured is still someplace around us because plastic doesn't go anywhere. We don't know if it takes, 400 years, 500 years, maybe 1,000 of years. What we envisioned, like the movie, is to have a package that actually imitates nature creation. So nature also packed the orange, the bananas, the nuts, to create a package that can replace conventional plastic with a fully compostable solution that will decompose and biodegrade and return into nature within up to 6 months. And actually will become a new resource, which is a fertilizer, a compost, which is a fertilizer that can be used again in nature to grow the next generation of growth. And that's what we call organic recycling. That's the vision behind TIPA, to create a viable solution to replace flexible packaging with a fully compostable solution that imitates nature in one hand, and on the other hand, imitates conventional plastic.
Can you elaborate for us a little bit on the company values of TIPA?
Yeah, so we've created a company to create a solution to replace, to solve the plastic problem.
Right.
In our vision, a few solutions will coexist in the future. So we will use recycling when we can use recycling. We will use reusable packages when we can use reusable packages. And when compostable packages are needed, for example, in the space of flexible packaging, and that's what we'll do. We operate in a way that we develop the technology, and the technology is available worldwide for companies to use. We manufacture on the same machineries as conventional plastic, which means that technology can be adopted almost everywhere. And that's our vision, to be able and available for everyone in the world to use our technology.
So being at the forefront of technological innovation, how does TIPA prioritize the accessibility of its solution to the market?
So first of all, we focus on flexible packaging because flexible packaging cannot be recycled, or it's very hard to recycle flexible packaging. For example, in the UK, only 4% of flexible packaging is recycled. It's a market of over $160 billion a year. So obviously, it's a huge market with many segments. We focus on the food industry because the food industry is the #1 contributor to plastic waste. And within the food industry, there are so many segments and different products. So we start with the ones that are mostly used and are most, and compostable packaging solutions are most suitable for those segments. And we plan to grow from there and to expand more and more and at the end of the day, to offer our packaging solutions to all different types of flexible packaging.
Very interesting, Daphna. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing with us all about your company. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, now let's go back to Dr. Posmanek. Thank you for staying with us, of course. So the packaging industry currently generates enormous amounts of waste and causes huge environmental damage. How can companies like TIPA that we just saw help reduce these damages?
So I think the key word here is responsibility. So we must be aware that we have responsibility on this planet. And I think that what Daphna just mentioned about share forces between functionalities when we're talking about packaging is very important. We as in the production chain, the farmers and the consumers have responsibility to the food that we produce and for the food that we waste. And if we're going to embed solutions like TIPA, other solutions that treat plastic waste as a resource, it looks like a small change, but it's a huge change because it's a global issue. So yeah, I think that this direction is one of the most important things when you're talking about food waste or carbon footprint of the food production. So yes, packaging is very important.
Thank you once again. Please stay with us. Now we're going to go once again to President Plevneliev. Are you still with us?
Of course.
Great, wonderful. I was wondering if you could comment on the presentation you just heard from TIPA and how we can go about reducing waste from packaging.
I was taking notes. I was so excited about what I saw. And I'm inviting you, please come to the European Union, come to Bulgaria, and we'll find partners. We'll find money. We'll find investors. Your technology is very exciting, and we will do our best for these technologies to flourish. There is a lot of money available. There is a huge market coming. European Union is investing trillions of dollars. All the countries are ambitious. All of them are setting targets. All of them need to perform right now and invest right now. The United States is making the biggest move with the Joe Biden administration, and also China is investing heavily. So the top economies in the world have defined very ambitious goals and targets, and they're acting right now. And that's a huge opportunity. On behalf of the European Union, and especially of my country, I'm not just inviting you, but I'm telling you that if you decide to put a factory or look for a joint venture in the clean tech industry of all of its aspects, at least 50% of the funding will be immediately available from the government sources, And the other funding will come easily through the markets, through the banks, and through different instruments. So money is there, opportunity is there. Let's develop it together.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. We will come back to you again very soon. All right, Israel-based Chakratec is a leading provider of energy storage solutions based on its innovative flywheel technology. Chakratec's technology enables sustainable and cost-effective solutions to a wide range of heavy-duty applications requiring high performance and high endurance. Chakratec's technology aims to solve range anxiety, which is the key limitation to electric vehicle mass adoption, by enabling a wide deployment of ultra-fast charging stations for electric vehicles, anywhere, even at grid-constrained locations. Take a look.
Chakratec, boosting e-mobility anywhere. Think about this. Charging 10 EVs in 10 minutes altogether requires power infrastructure equivalent to powering a skyscraper. Infrastructure upgrade, which has enormous costs, takes a long time. To overcome these hurdles, local energy storage is added for grid support of fast charging. It's possible to use chemical batteries, but many charging cycles shorten their lifespan and require frequent replacements, making this a polluting and costly solution. Chakratec is addressing exactly these problems. Introducing an innovative charging technology based on its kinetic battery for unlimited high-power charging and discharging cycles. A solution that is both sustainable and economic. Chakratec, boosting e-mobility anywhere.
Chakratec CEO Boaz Weiser previously held VP positions at Elbit Systems and has vast experience in leading business, R&D, and operations of innovative, multidisciplinary, high-tech solutions. He holds a BSc and MBA degrees from the Technion Israel Institute of Technology. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for hosting me.
Of course. So what is the main challenge which limits the mass adoption of electric vehicles?
So recent projections show that by 2030, we are going to have over 150 million electrical vehicles on the roads globally.
Wow.
However, this is yet to be seen mainly because of a psychological barrier called the range anxiety, which is caused by the limited range provided by the EV battery and the long time it takes to charge it. So those who are evaluating buying electrical vehicles are really concerned that they will not be able to use their vehicle for medium to long range distances just because they will not find a charger. And even if they will find one, it will take them many hours, many long hours to charge the battery. So the solution to the range anxiety is having a vast deployment of fast charging stations. And apparently it's not so easy to have fast charging of a vehicle within a few minutes. This requires a very powerful grid. For example, in order to charge a vehicle with only 200 kilometers of range, within 15 minutes, it will take the average consumption of 50 households. So that's the main challenge. The main challenge is the current grid infrastructure, which is not ready for the EV revolution. It will take decades to upgrade this infrastructure. And if we want to accelerate the EV revolution to materialize in the next decade, we must find a solution to that.
So what is the solution that Chakratec is offering?
So we are offering the solution of an energy storage system, which boosts the grids in locations where you would like to set up the fast charging infrastructure. A fast charging an energy storage system captures the energy from the current grid, store it until a vehicle is connected to a fast charger, and then able to release it as a high power surge to allow the fast charging of the EV battery within only minutes. We have developed a very unique flywheel-based kinetic energy storage system, which is actually highly adopted and highly optimized for this application, allowing a fast charging of electrical vehicle within only 15 minutes, even in a grid-constrained location.
So what exactly is kinetic or flywheel-based energy storage, and how does it fit into the EV fast charging challenge?
So a flywheel is actually, and I will not go to too much details, it's an electrical mechanical device. It's actually a very heavy wheel floating in a vacuum, and by that having negligible losses of heat, vibration, and friction. Because of that, when electrical motor is accelerating, this wheel is heavy wheel, it's actually storing kinetic energy in this wheel. So when we would like to release the energy, this motor operates as a generator, releasing the kinetic energy or converting it back to electrical energy as a high power surge of electrical energy. We have developed a very unique configuration of flywheel. It's very robust, high endurance, capable of 200,000 high power charge and discharge cycles. And based on this technology, we developed a very unique energy storage system containing several flywheels. This allows a very cost-effective and sustainable solution, providing fast charging of electrical vehicles within only 15 minutes, even in locations where the grid is very weak.
So other than what you already mentioned, what are some of the main advantages of your technology over other solutions that are available?
So all other solutions available today are based on lithium-ion batteries. Lithium-ion batteries degrade very rapidly and are limited. Their lifespan is limited to a very approximately 4,000 high power cycles, which means they are actually irrelevant to this kind of application. For example, if you would like to have only 10 vehicles charged in such a fast charging site, after less than a year, you need to replace the batteries if they are used to boost the grid at that location. In addition, being chemical, it's not safe, not sustainable, and comes with a high operational cost for shipping, installation, and recycling of the batteries. And because of that, the total cost of ownership of the other solution is very high. Unlike those solutions, our solution is, as I mentioned before, very robust, a high endurance, high performance solution, capable of 200,000 cycles compared to the 4,000 of batteries. This provides a significant advantage regarding the total cost of ownership, which is significantly lower. It's a sustainable solution, a safe solution, and very easy and modular to install it.
I'm curious who your customers exactly are and what are you offering to them?
So our customers are property owners and charge point operators who would like to set up the fast charging infrastructure even in locations where the grid is weak, to provide fast charging services to EV owners, which are their customers. We believe that EV owners will want the peace of mind to take their vehicle even to medium to long range trips. And they will want to save time, and because of that, will be willing to pay more for these fast charging services. And because of that, those charge point operators will be able to get a very rapid return on investment on the procurement of our energy storage system. We have already deployed several systems in Europe. We have already started our marketing efforts in North America. And by the end of this year, we are going to have our next generation 100 kilowatt system. We believe it's going to make a significant impact in this rapidly evolving fast charging market for EVs.
All right, looking forward to hearing more about it. Boaz, thank you so much for joining me today. Appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. I'd like to also take this opportunity to thank Dr. Karpowicz for joining us today. We will have to say goodbye to you here. Thank you again for your insights today. We really appreciate it. Now let's go back once more to President Plevneliev. We've heard a lot about the different renewable energies, the difference renewable energies can make, and we've seen here some really amazing technologies. On that note, what do you think of the energy storage technology just presented to us by Chakratec?
I was very excited. It's very hot, very, very ambitious, and we are in the race, all of us, especially the European Union, is very proud that we overcome even the United States the last month being the biggest, bigger than the United States market for new electric vehicles. And China, of course, today is the biggest market for electric vehicles. But the European Union is setting up extremely ambitious targets, very high speed. 108 new electric cars models will be coming on the market, produced in the European Union in the next 2 years. A lot of money is invested in infrastructure. The European Union wants to be the leading global power for clean tech, sustainable technology solutions, and want to be neutral on emissions by 2050. Because of all those things, and because there's not just political talking, it's not just an ambition, it is a clear target, there is money available, there is a huge market available. I would invite Chakratec, which is really an amazing company, just come to us, we'll find the money, we'll find the market for you, and let's be ambitious and let's do more together.
And sir, how do you see EVs impacting the future of the automobile industry in general?
Well, look at the drama of the German car producers. If you look today at the market capitalization of BMW, Mercedes, Volkswagen, Audi, all of them together is less than the market capitalization of Tesla, which is even now producing 1/10 of what the German car makers are producing. It is just telling you a lot where the expectations are going and where the money and the future is going. But the European car manufacturers are not sleeping. Very ambitious. Day by day, we see the new electric models, we see the new battery factories, we see the new technologies coming, huge money invested exactly this and next year. And we're gonna see a totally different environment for electric cars, totally different possibilities for people to buy electric cars in the next 2 years. Especially in the European Union with the new mechanisms in place, it will be even more cheaper, as a lot of governments are putting special programs into it to buy electric vehicle. And of course, you're much more flexible to buy it in a very different way, share it, rent it, lease it, buy it, whatever you want. Huge opportunities are coming. And Israel is our closest strategic friend and ally, and you have special technologies available. Let's work together.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, for your input on that. And again, please stay with us. And remember, IMPROVATE is about making practical changes, exposing Israeli tech innovators to governments, investors, and companies around the world to promote businesses whose goal is innovation and helping countries further their development. The exposure right here at this conference is a first step, followed up with delegations and real business connections. As the world experiences the disastrous effects of climate change, environmental sustainability is becoming more and more important. In order to reverse global warming and to make sure future generations can enjoy the Earth's natural resources, we must manage our economies in a sustainable fashion and prevent the depletion and degradation of those natural resources. With us here in the studio are, again, Dr. Roy Posmanek, who stayed with us this entire time. Thank you again for staying with us. His Excellency Panagiotis Saras, Ambassador of Greece to Israel, and His Excellency Reta Negu Alemu, Ambassador from Ethiopia to Israel. Thank you all for being with us today. Really appreciate it. Okay, let's start with His Excellency Panagiotis Saras, Ambassador of Greece to Israel, who has been working as a diplomat in the Greek Ministry for Foreign Affairs for 40 years. Thank you, sir, so much for joining us. So Israel and Greece have signed agreements together with Cyprus and Italy for the construction of the world's longest natural gas pipeline to create an energy hub in the Eastern Mediterranean. Can you tell us about its progress, its importance, and about Greece's role?
Yes, sure. We're talking about the East Med pipeline. It is a colossal planned pipeline. I'm not sure it's the longest pipeline. It's definitely the longest underwater pipeline because it's going to connect the Levantine Basin and the resources here with Cyprus. It has a landfall in Cyprus and then a landfall in Crete. The distance between Cyprus and Crete is significant. This is a very important project which will be, it is in the pipeline, as it were, for quite a few years. It has now reached a point where we are past the feasibility studies. We're very happy about that. And we've reached a point where we're talking about in-depth front-end engineering design, which is going to take place for both the onshore and the offshore parts. And this is actually last year in January of 2020, there was an accord signed between Athens between the Greece, Cyprus, and Israel about moving forward and setting issues about the security of the pipeline, the common tax regimes, things like this. So we're actually moving forward, and we are expecting a final investment decision to be taking place possibly next year. So yes, it's a very important project. You asked about its importance. It's important for Europe because Europe, we've been talking about diversification of sources for a long time. So it's important that we, as it were, get less dependent on Russian natural gas, as it were, and find more sources. Levantine Basin is a big opportunity. So it's important for the diversification of Europe, for the energy security of Europe. It's important for Israel because Israel has earmarked as I understand, the Israeli government has earmarked a very large amount of the deposits, like 800 billion cubic meters, to be exported over the course of the next decades. And this has to go somewhere, and Europe is an important market for Israel and Cyprus, actually, because Cyprus is there is a synergy in the exportation of resources. And it's important for Greece because Greece becomes, I will use, for the purposes of this discussion, I'll use the word hub. It becomes a hub. Greece at the moment receives inflows from two continents, from Russia and from Asia, from the Caspian, and through the sea for LNG. And it's important that the Greece becomes not so much an exporter, but a regulator of outflows. And it's important that we could, in a sense, export this into the Balkan Peninsula, Central Europe. These are important markets. It's a very big project, but I think this is a compact answer to what you asked.
It sounds like a big project.
Yes.
So Greece, Cyprus, and Israel also have agreements in place to connect their energy grids. How will this increase energy security and facilitate an increase in the share of renewables in the energy mix?
Yes. Well, another very big project which is moving on is the Euro-Asia interconnector, and this is like the electricity highway, as we like to call it, between, again, Israel, Cyprus, and Greece. And this gives the opportunity to all three countries to interconnect their systems. I mean, it's very important for all three. When it comes to renewables, it's interesting because, okay, when you produce electricity either from renewables or from fossil fuels, or it doesn't matter. Electricity is there and it goes into the cable. When you produce renewables, you have to worry about one thing. If your network is not big enough, then we start to worry about what we call the intermittency of production. So you need to be able to cover for the losses, especially if we're talking about solar and wind energy. These are the renewables that are intermittent in the sense that there are times when it's not windy and there are times when it's not sunny. So what do you do then? Then you need to have a security of supply. And this is what happens with this interconnector. It gives Israel the possibility to export, again, it's electricity made from natural gas or renewables. But it does wonders for Cyprus, which is isolated, and also Crete, because it makes a landfall in Crete before it goes to mainland Greece. So this is a project that is especially important, apart from other things, and there are many, but it's especially important for the renewable energy supply.
Let's move on now to His Excellency Reda Nega Alemu, who is Ambassador of Ethiopia to Israel and has previously served as Deputy Chief of Mission at the Embassy of Ethiopia in Washington. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Ambassador, less than half of Ethiopians currently have access to reliable sources of energy. What is the role of renewables in reaching universal electricity in Ethiopia, and what kind of partnerships are you looking for that?
Ethiopia has abundant renewable energy resources. It has the potential to generate over 60,000 megawatts from hydropower, from solar energy, from wind, and from also geothermal energy. Presently, there are two Israeli companies investing in the energy sector. Gigawatt Global invested in the solar energy sector and is planning to work with 10 universities in harnessing the solar energy to these 10 universities. And the second one is Ormat, from investing on the geothermal energy sector, and invested in 4 new geothermal energy sites. So those are the potentials that we have. When we look into the potential that we have, be it in the hydroelectric generation and also from solar and wind energy mix, we have not yet utilized the full capacity. So far, we are also working to be able to increase that capacity. Currently, only 40% of the total population has access to electricity. So there is still a huge gap. We need to be able to increase the potential. In terms of the hydropower energy sector, Ethiopia invested largely in 2 big river basins. In the Awash Basin, we have the Gilgal-Gibe projects, Gibe 1 to Gibe 4, the 4 hydroelectric power generation dams. And we have also the new dam, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, which has the installed capacity of 6,400 megawatt generation capacity. With that energy mix, we will boost our energy. But the potential is high, and we are part of the Eastern African Power Pool project, which includes in the countries in the Horn of Africa, and we have that potential to bring renewable energy to the countries in the region. At this point, Ethiopia exports electricity to Djibouti and to Sudan.
All right, Mr. Ambassador, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Michal Chika is State Secretary at the Ministry of Environment of the Slovak Republic, covering issues such as climate change, air pollution, circular economy, waste management, international affairs, and European Union environmental politics. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Ďakujem pekne za pozvanie, vážim si to.
Thank you very much. Appreciating the invitation.
Slovakia is a major automotive manufacturer, and the industry accounts for a large section of GDP and is responsible for hundreds of thousands of jobs. What are you doing to embrace zero-emission electromobility?
Ďakujem pekne za otázku.
Thank you for the question.
Na jednej strane vidíme, že emisie z cestnej dopravy sú pre nás z pohľadu zmeny klímy veľkým problémom, lebo je to jediný veľký sektor emisí, kde sa nám dlhodobo nedarí znižovať emisie, a len od roku 2013 nám tu CHG emisie narastli približne o 1,1 milióna CO2.
On the one hand, we see road traffic emissions as a major challenge to us in terms of climate change, because it is the only large sector of emissions where we are not capable in the long term of reducing emissions. And only since 2013, the CHG emissions have been growing by approximately 1.1 million tons of CO2 equivalent.
Naviac, ambície do roku 2030 sa v EÚ zvýšili a pripravuje sa to premietnúť aj do národných záväzkov a cieľov. Za chvíľu sa teda budeme musieť rozhodovať, či budeme musieť pritvrdzovať národné opatrenie, vrátanie znižovania emisí v doprave, alebo budeme znášať politické a finančné konsekvencie neplnenia týchto cieľov.
Moreover, the ambitions until 2030 in the EU have been increasing and increased, in fact, and preparations are underway to reflect this also into the national commitments and targets. So in a moment, we are going to have to decide whether we're going to have to adopt more harsh national measures, including reduction of transport emissions, or are we going to have to bear the political and financial consequences of not meeting these targets?
Na druhej strane sme opatrní, lebo vidíme dôležitosť tohto sektoru z pohľadu národného hospodárstva a preto pristupujeme aj k plánom Európskej komisie opatrne. Európska komisia v júnovom legislatívnom balíku, ktorý bude implementovať zvýšenie redukčných cieľov EÚ do roku 2030, prijala opatrenia, ktoré sa týkajú dopravy. A to zahrnutie cestnej dopravy pod systém obchodovania s emisnými kvótami, revízia CO emisí štandardov z osobných automobilov a dodávok, ktorého súčasťou by už mohol byť zákaz vyrábať auta na spaľovacie motory. Už teraz sa však formuluje veľká skupina členských štátov, ktorá požaduje už v tejto dekáde tento zákaz, aby bol prijatý na úrovni EÚ.
On the one hand, we are cautious because we see the importance of the sector from the viewpoint of national economy, and that is why we are approaching the European Commission plans carefully. The Commission, in its June legislative package this year, that is going to implement increased reduction targets of the European Union by 2030, include the following measures that pertain to the transport sector. 1, inclusion of road transport under emission trading scheme measures, and second, revision of CO2 emission standards from passenger vehicles and vans, whose part should already be a ban on manufacturing combustion engine cars. Even now, there is a larger member state group being formed that requires in this decade this ban to be adopted at a full EU level.
K takýmto plánom pristupujeme však veľmi opatrne, lebo by jednak mohli viesť k prehlbovaniu nerovnosti medzi obyvateľmi v chudobnejších štátoch, kde by sociálne slabšie vrstvy obyvateľov nemali prístup k dostupnej mobilite, zvyšovala by sa administratívna náročnosť a pre výrobcov by časté zmeny znamenali narušenie vývojových a výrobných cyklov, pretože CO2 štandardy boli prijaté len menej ako 2 roky dozadu.
We are approaching such plans with caution because they could, on the one hand, lead to deepening inequality among the population in the poorer states, whether the lower social groups of society would not have access to mobility. There would be administrative burden, which would also be increased as a result. And frequent changes would mean disruption of development and production cycles for the manufacturers, because the CO2 standards were only adopted less than 2 years ago.
Aj z týchto dôvodov Slovensko pristupovalo doteraz k ambicióznym plánom pri elektromobilite opatrnejšie a nešlo nad rámec európskej legislatívy a praxe. Naviac, situáciu komplikuje aj to, že táto oblasť nemá jasného gestora a v téme elektromobilita sa stretávajú záujmy 3 ministerstiev. Ministerstva životného prostredia, hospodárstva a dopravy.
Also, due to these reasons, Slovakia had thus far been approaching these ambitious plans in electric mobility with a greater caution. And Slovakia avoided going above and beyond the EU legislative and practical framework. Moreover, the situation is made more complicated by the fact that this area does not have a clear sponsor. And in the electric mobility topic as such, there are in fact 3 different ministries' interests clashing. These are ministries of environment, economy, and transport.
Medzi doterajšie aktivity by som spomenul hlavne podporu nákupov elektromobilov a budovania infraštruktúry, vrátane implementačnej kampane pre elektromobilitu. Tu ministerstvo hospodárstva stojí za viacerými informačnými kampaňmi, ako sú viaceré web stránky, ktoré poskytujú prehľad pre mestá, obce a jednotlivých záujemcov o politikách, projektoch a programoch, ktoré môžu napomôcť ďalšiemu rozvoju elektromobility.
Among the activities pursued until now, I would only like to mention the support of electric mobility purchases, vehicles, and building the appropriate infrastructure, including information campaign for electric mobility. This is where the Ministry of Economy is standing behind multiple information campaigns, such as the websites that we provide. These websites provide an overview of individual abilities of municipalities and towns and interested parties in policies, projects, and programs that may help the development of electric mobility.
Slovenská republika využíva aj plán obnovy a odolnosti, nový inštrument, ktorý prichádza z Európskej únie a na ktorý chceme aktívne využiť, aj na podporu opatrení v oblasti elektromobility, najmä v oblasti budovania tejto infraštruktúry potrebnej na rozširovanie siete elektromobility.
Slovak Republic also supports the European Union Recovery and Resilience Plan. These include active measures that support electromobility, including the building of infrastructure to further see electric mobility to grow.
V každom prípade si vážim možnosť vystúpiť na dnešnom podujatí a považujem aj ostatné príspevky za veľmi prínosné.
In any event, I appreciate very much the opportunity to speak at this event here today amongst you, and I appreciate other speeches and presentations as well. Thank you.
Mr. Kicha, thank you so much for joining us here today at IMPROVATE. We really appreciate it. Okay, let's move on now to UBQ Materials, which has developed one of the most promising advanced waste conversion technologies, converting household waste into a climate-positive raw material for the manufacturing industry, emptying landfills, one product at a time.
Introducing UBQ, the greenest thermoplastic material on the planet. UBQ is a bio-based, worldwide patented material that can replace common plastics in the manufacturing of thousands of products. UBQ is a revolution in the materials sector as it enables the production of carbon-neutral and climate-positive products, something unheard of before. Amazingly, UBQ is made from our daily trash, from food waste, packaging, cardboard, and plastics that end up in landfills and polluting our oceans. We have created a valuable new natural resource that didn't exist till now. From a linear model that exhausts our natural resources to a truly circular economy. UBQ, everything matters.
As co-founder and CEO of UBQ Materials, Jack Biggio, also known as Tato, leads the company's vision and strategy, bringing 25 years of experience in international project development, financing, and capital markets with leading global economies. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
So why would brands or manufacturers choose to use UBQ? What are the economic advantages?
UBQ is a material that is made out of household garbage. We're producing 2 billion tons of household waste. It's the equivalent of 10 million jumbo jets full of people.
Wow.
80% is dumped in open landfills, 5% emissions coming from landfills, and only 4% of all this will be ever recycled.
Wow.
So using a natural resource from materials that nobody wants, in a way is promoting a circular economy and bringing back to life important materials. We are replacing fossil-based oil plastics, and that is a very important statement. On the other hand, we're coming also with a very competitive material, cost-competitive material, and that is very important for the market to adapt. And our prices, by the way, fixed. We don't depend on petrol or on oil, so we can secure long-term supplies to our customers. That is a very good proposition.
So is this a profitable endeavor? Tell us a bit about your business model.
Yes, it is. First of all, we take waste that is going to go to landfills, which is expensive to dispose. We're taking the food stuff, the chicken bones, the banana peels, the hamburger leftovers, the pizza box with the pizza, okay? The diapers, the masks, the mixed plastics, most of them are recyclable. All of that stream together, we're converting it into one material. So this is waste, and this is UBQ material. We will do this with a very efficient, energy-efficient process, okay, with no sludges or carbon emissions. And then we will transfer it to our customers so that they get a climate-positive end material that substitutes expensive oil-based resins. So yes, it is a very profitable margin proposition.
And what is the global market potential here?
So look, we can produce not only replacement for plastics, but also for wood and minerals. So virtually anything you see here can be done with UBQ material. Now we're going one step at a time, but the potential is huge. Today we're working, for example, with Daimler, Mercedes-Benz in doing auto parts. We are shipping material to Mainetti, the biggest cloth hangers in the world. We're shipping material to the manufacturers of McDonald's so they can do climate-positive trays. Here you have the sign of UBQ, by the way, next to McDonald's. And there is a lot of demand. The total plastic market is $600 billion. If UBQ would take 5-10% of it, you're talking about a huge company.
So what stage is the company currently at? And can you tell us about any potential expansion plans for the future?
Yes. We have today a plant in the south of Israel, in the Negev desert. That plant is going to be expanding abroad. Our first plant will be made in the Netherlands. We already have a building, and we are equipping the plant to be operative in 2022. That plant will serve not only the European market, but also other markets like the United States and Asia. And we consider to expand this technology vastly. We have waste everywhere, so it's a locally available natural resource for us. We can supply plastic products or UBQ-made products with your local waste. And basically, by 2026, we expect to be 1 million tons in the market. So using your waste, bringing it back into the circular economy with a climate positive and very green product.
All right, Tato, thank you. And thank you for bringing all these great examples in for us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's go back to Dr. Postmanik. How are you doing over there? Right, so you just saw the presentation from UBQ Technology, which deals with waste conversion technology. What is the positive environmental impact of technologies like these?
Look, I think that the most important things in what we just saw is the fact that this waste is a mixture of everything. And this is a great challenge in the world of waste management. And honestly, I'm amazed by the fact that this company can make a useful product for the plastic industry from waste plastic. People really don't recognize how hard it is to take polyethylene, which is the most abundant plastic we use, and try to do something with it. Because it's not just it's the fact that it's very popular is because it's very let's say strength and it's hard to degrade. So I'm really amazed, and I think that this kind of solution make me much more optimistic.
Great. Roy, thank you for that, and stay with us. All right, let's move to the DRC to Mr. Jacques Ipango Kumalela, who is the Secretary General of Infrastructures and Public Works in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Thank you for joining us today. The DRC is home to the Congo River, which boasts 13% of the world's hydropower potential. However, due to aging and inefficient infrastructure, much of that potential is underutilized and potentially could power half of Africa's energy needs. What is being done to maximize DRC's hydro potential, and what are your technology needs to meet the aim of becoming a net energy exporter?
Le RDC abrite le fleuve Congo qui possède 13% du potentiel hydroélectrique mondial. Cependant, en raison du vieillissement et de l'inefficacité de l'infrastructure, une bonne partie de ce potentiel est sous-utilisé. Ce potentiel pourrait alimenter la moitié des besoins énergétiques de l'Afrique. Que fait-on pour maximiser le potentiel hydroélectrique de la RDC et quels sont vos besoins technologiques pour atteindre l'objectif de devenir un exportateur net d'énergie?
Oui, merci beaucoup pour la présentation.
Thank you for the presentation.
Et le Congo.
The Congo.
Alors, par rapport à votre question,
a report that we have.
Étant donné que les infrastructures,
the infrastructures are not sufficient.
Des investissements importants.
We need a lot of investments.
Et que seules les ressources publiques ne seront satisfaites.
And we need experience from other since 2014. By the law that we have installed, that
juin 2014,
this referring to the sector of public work,
à libéraliser ce secteur
to realize this plan to allow that for private investors to invest in our sectors and to put them into work, and namely the production, the transport, the marketing, the importation and exportation. At present, we are investing in private electricity plants, and the project that we are envisioning. And we have a large potential for development. But at the same time, this development is conditioned by the exportation of electricity, in particular from Africa to the rest of the world. At present, this project we need the complementary techniques to enable these endeavors. This is my answering to your question.
Okay, thank you for your answer. Now, despite all its clean energy riches, DRC currently has one of the lowest rates of electrification in the world. What is your strategy for providing diversified off-grid energy to rural areas?
Malgré toutes ces richesses énergétiques propres, la RDC, à l'heure actuelle, a l'un des taux d'électrification le plus bas au monde. Quelles sont votre stratégie pour fournir de l'énergie diversifiée hors réseau aux zones rurales?
Oui, merci pour la question.
Je répète.
Les taux d'électrification.
The rate of electricity of the RDC is the most lowest in the world.
Moins de 1%
and
dans le milieu rural.
In the rural zone, we need that for our population, but at the same time, the rate of electricity of RDC so we are integrating out of the system new implementations that will enable, namely, to operate this electricity on the national level in the rural areas. And after that, by the law, we will
relative au secteur de l'électricité et dont l'objectif consiste particulièrement.
So we will install in a larger scale of electricity once the rural areas will be provided with electricity.
Actuellement,
at present,
il vient d'être mise en place
we are installing
pour permettre à notre pays
also in other countries
d'améliorer les taux
to improve the rate of electrification.
Il existe un atlas
there are
des énergies renouvelables. Un instrument qui présente la cartographie.
One of the problems we have to do with the topography of the country, to exploit the potential that there is there. On the national plan, we will install in the sector of electricity. We will associate it with the 4 different provinces of the country.
Voilà.
This is my answer for your question.
Merci. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Merci de nous joindre aujourd'hui, monsieur.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.
Let's move now to Temenushka Petkova, Minister of Energy of Bulgaria. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Hello, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your invitation.
Happy to have you as part of our show today. Well, Israeli companies are at the forefront of solar energy technologies, and Bulgaria has ambitious solar energy production plans. How can Bulgaria employ Israeli know-how and technology in this field?
България е една от държавите членки на Европейския съюз, която преизпълни своята национална цел за дял на възобновяеми енергийни източници в своето брутно потребление.
Bulgaria, as an EU member state, has exceeded its national target of 16% share of renewable energy sources in gross final consumption.
При национална цел от 16% дял на възобновяемите енергийни източници в края на 2020 година, ние отчитаме преизпълнение от 20,1%.
The national target of 16% was aimed to be fulfilled by 2020, while at the end of this period, we have accounted 21% of this target.
За нас би било изключително удоволствие да работим заедно с израелските компании и да можем да научим нещо повече за тяхната технология и за ноу-хауто.
It will be an enormous pleasure for Bulgaria to work together with Israeli companies and to learn more from their new technologies and also to have experience from their know-how.
Смятам, че една изключително добра основа за това сътрудничество може да бъде съвсем наскоро подписания меморандум между Република България и държавата Израел за сътрудничество в областта на енергетиката.
And I believe that a very solid ground for this work together could be the recently signed memorandum of understanding on energy cooperation between Bulgaria and the state of Israel.
Една от сферите за сътрудничество в рамките на този меморандум е именно развитието на технологиите за възобновяеми енергийни източници и обмяната на опит.
And one of the areas in which we can cooperate and which is also part of this memorandum is namely the development of new technologies for renewable energy and also their employment.
Израелските компании са добре дошли в България.
Israeli companies are more than welcome to Bulgaria.
За нас ще бъде изключителна чест и удоволствие да работим заедно.
And it will be an immense pleasure and useful experience to work together with you.
Thank you.
Ms. Petkova, coal currently constitutes a large part of the energy mix in Bulgaria. Tell us about your renewable energy strategy and goals.
Към настоящият момент производство на електрическа енергия от въглища в България заема много сериозен дял в енергийния микс на страната.
Currently, the electricity produced from coal holds a major share in the energy mix of Bulgaria.
Повече от 46% от необходимата електрическа енергия в България се осигурява именно от въглищните централи.
More than 46% of all the total electricity produced in the country is from coal-fired power plants.
Но вие знаете, че Европейският съюз си постави изключително амбициозната цел за постигане на климатична неутралност до 2050 година на ниво Европейски съюз.
You are well aware with the ambitious goal of the European Union to achieve climate neutrality at EU level by 2050.
И България, като държава членка на Европейския съюз, като страна, която иска да бъде извършен този преход към нисковъглеродна икономика максимално плавно и успешно, сме заложили в нашите стратегически документи и съответните цели.
And Bulgaria as a new member state and also a country that wishes to make a transition to low carbon economy in a smooth and effective way, have issued certain documents where we have set out all these objectives.
Предвиждаме до 2030 година делът на възобновяемите енергийни източници в крайното брутно потребление да достигне 27%.
We are planning by 2030 the share of renewable energy in the gross final consumption of energy to be 27%.
Считаме, че това е една цел, която ще даде възможност България да има много сериозен принос на ниво Европейски съюз към постигане на общата ни цел за климатична неутралност до края на 2050 година.
And we believe that this goal of ours will contribute at EU level the entire Union to achieve climate neutrality by 2050.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Petkova, joining us all the way from Bulgaria. All right, let's move back to President Plevneliev. Thank you so much for staying with us, sir. Southeastern Europe has plenty of sunshine, good wind conditions, and abundant hydro resources, and therefore great potential to be a renewable energy power. What's required to maximize that potential?
That's absolutely true. In my country, we have really so much water. It's one of the water richest countries, mountains, rivers. Bulgaria is a beautiful country, given a lot by nature and God. And of course, it depends to us, the human beings, the political leaders, the business leaders, to improve what nature gave us, to make it better, to make it in a sustainable way. My country has a strategic plan, which is part of the European Union strategic plan, 2030-2050. We have clear goals. As you heard from our minister, we're very ambitious. We doubled the renewables in the last 10 years from 10 to 21%. Now we're going to again improve to 20-30%. But there is so much sun, there is so much potential, there is so much wind, there is so much water, and we're not using this potential in the most efficient way. And what does it take? Your question is so important. It takes political courage. It takes leaders to create the framework. It takes smart governments to make the platform for businesses and people to develop their ideas. It takes, of course, a lot of efforts. And I would say money is always available when you have a project that makes sense. And what better makes sense than taking care of our nature, of our environment for our children. And that is why I have to say there is so much money available today to develop and realize such projects. Governments have to be more ambitious, and businesses will definitely fill that vacuum with solutions, with innovations. We're just in the beginning of an amazing transformation. So I'm inviting companies from Israel to explore these opportunities with us. Bulgarian coal mines, Bulgarian power producers. Bulgaria is a very big producer of energy, exporter of energy. We do have the mix from nuclear to coal, renewables, gas, everything. It's a market where Israeli companies are welcome, but the same with Greece, with Poland, with Southeast Europe. Those countries are friends of Israel, strategic partners of Israel, and we are open to do more together.
Thank you, Mr. President. Once again, of course, we will come back to you soon, so don't go anywhere. All right, joining us now is Doron Tamir, the co-founder and CEO of Luminescent. He's been a solar entrepreneur since 2008 and was a partner of EDF Energy Nouvelle from 2009 to 2019, developing solutions for 100% renewable energy. With its innovative solar energy technology, Luminescent can produce 24/7, 365 solar energy at a lower cost than any other technology. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
So what are the energy needs of our planet? I know that's a pretty big question.
But it's a very simple answer, okay, because our target is to go to 100% renewable in the generation, but also in transportation. So this is the simple answer. But in the problems, we don't have any solution for it because PV, it's just for 5 hours a day. If you add some lithium-ion batteries, so you will have another 4 hours, another 6 hours, but no more than that.
So what is wrong with the existing solar technology?
So the PV, which is the dominant technology, it actually has 3 weak points. The first one is just 20% efficiency, which means that all the rest, all the 80% is go to waste. The second, that they need lithium-ion battery, which is a very nice solution, but not the best for our environmental issues. And the third one, that even if you have PV with batteries, you will need a backup as a gas power station. Okay, so in total, for example, the Israeli Minister of Energy done the calculation. If you will put PV with batteries, with a backup of gas, then you will have in the price, in calculation of the price of 2020 for 12 cents. And the assumption for 2050 will be 8 cents, which is very expensive. What we can do in Luminescent, we can do it for 8 cents or exactly 5 cents in 2025. So it's 25 years closer, and actually it's much better price.
So why are you the perfect solution for green hydrogen production?
Before green hydrogen, I just want to say that we have actually 4 components, okay? So actually we have our receiver, which is very unique because we use the 20% efficiency, and we can use the 80% that usually in the PV is going to waste. We can produce from it heat, and then we produce electricity. So actually, in the end of the day, we have 40% efficiency, which is doubles in the PV. So this is our main advantage. And the other component, which is really game changer, it's our very innovation heat engine. It's a new heat engine that very small, that can give us a field efficiency, which is doubled in CSP. This is the other technology of solar. So altogether, we can have this number of 5 cents for 365 years.
So how can we change the waste energy market?
Waste energy, actually, I don't know if someone knows, but we have something around 100 gigawatt of waste energy. Waste energy, it's actually any turbine that is working, any factories, all the factories that are doing something, or any chemical process have a lot of heat that just going to the air. And this heat is between 200 degrees to 700 degrees. And if you can catch them, we can produce from it electricity actually with almost no cost. But the problem is that you don't have small heat engine. Usually they are very expensive and very low efficient. What we can do is our heat engine actually bring to the market a new solution. Then we can have a waste heat energy, a really game changer.
Wonderful. Doron, thank you for coming in today.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, another question for you, Ambassador Alemu. Thank you for staying with us. So what kind of potential do you see for renewable energy in Ethiopia?
There is a huge potential. In fact, my government has an ambitious plan, and the ambitious plan is to harness all the potentials. As I indicated earlier, that our potential in the hydropower sector has been utilized to a certain extent, but we have also a huge potential in both in hydropower sector, but also in the solar sector, in the wind sector, and in the geothermal sectors. The renewable energy sector as a whole has been increasing. And what we see, it's a favored option because in terms of climate resilience, which is a serious challenge for us, it's an important sector that we need to harness the maximum potential that we have. When we look into the potential in Ethiopia, in the example of hydropower, we have only utilized to a certain extent largely by the 30% potential that we have. According to the studies, the potential goes to 45 gigawatts in terms of hydropower and 10 gigawatts in terms of solar power. And also in terms of wind power and geothermal, there are studies that indicate we have a huge potential. This is an opportunity for many investors to invest in the field. Ethiopia has opened up now inviting investors in the energy sector, especially in collaboration with partners. So we have the public-private partnership program, and under the partnership program, companies are required to submit their application to invest in the energy sector in collaboration with the government, especially the Ethiopian Power Authority.
Right, a really huge potential, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you for sharing your insights with us.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move now to Dr. Agina Angelo Tanga, Deputy Director General of the Ethiopian Environment and Forest Research Institute. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Ethiopia is pursuing agriculture-based industrialization with a goal of achieving middle-income country status with no net increase in carbon emissions. What is the role of renewables in this strategy?
Yeah, it's true that Ethiopia has ambitious plans for a couple of years, the last 10 years, and then continue to have more ambitious plans in the renewable energy sector. Ethiopia is to grow to middle-income country by 2025 with climate resilient economy and also with minimum or with no increasing carbon emissions. That means that there will be emissions from the different sectors, from agriculture, from the forestry sector, deforestation and land degradation, from industries, from transport, but that to be compensated through the sequestered and then secure stored carbon through our massive afforestation and reforestation program carried out for years. And then, moreover, Ethiopia energy generation and consumption is growing from renewable sources, as Ambassador Retta already mentioned, and that more to come from biomass, hydropower, wind, and geothermal, as well as the contributions from hydropower is high, but in case of drought and then dry seasons, may water levels fall. So diversification to a number of other energy sources would be important. So Ethiopia is opting also for diversified energy from renewable sources. So I would like to mention much more on biomass, because Ambassador Retta has already said on our capacity and ambitions on hydropower, solar, wind, and geothermal. So in the rural areas of Ethiopia, we have much more biomass energy utilization, as well as in also urban areas to some extent. But that has to have a transition from traditional biomass utilization to like a cow dung and then firewood based to biogas. So this is under development, and then it needs a lot of investment. So Ethiopia possesses about 13 massive sugar industries, which produce sugar in addition. In addition to that, we also produce bioethanol. So bioethanol ambitions is great, and the potential per day could grow up to 1.2 million liters. So that is a huge area for the engines which are using bioethanol, and the biomass resources are abundant, such as plantations of eucalyptus, acacia decarens, the bagasse from sugar factories, municipal waste, straw, and dung. These are all biomass sources which the country aspires to develop as a renewable green energy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for joining us today.
Thank you.
And thank you to all of our viewers. And remember, IMPROVATE is about making practical changes, exposing Israeli tech innovators to governments, investors, and companies around the world to promote businesses whose goal is innovation and helping countries further their development. The exposure right here at this conference is a first step, followed up with delegations and real business connections. Renewable energy isn't just about preventing global warming. As we have already discussed, renewables are part of national security. But clean tech is also creating new green jobs and creates circular economies that eliminate waste, providing society-wide benefits. With me now in the studio are His Excellency Jobdi Masima, Ambassador of the United Republic of Tanzania, Nicholas Christodoulidis, Head of Economic and Commercial Affairs at the Embassy of Greece, and also from Greece, Konstantinos Daskalopoulos, First Secretary for Economic and Commercial Affairs. Thank you all for joining us today. We will come back to you all soon. Okay, let's begin with Nicholas Christodoulidis. Thank you so much for joining me today. Of course, thank you for staying with us today.
No, not at all.
So the recent agreement between Israel and Greece and Cyprus to connect their grids with an undersea power cable, as we had discussed, is expected to be eligible for EU funding. Can you give us an idea of the scope of the funding that is likely to be made available for this project?
Sure. I'll try. It's a little bit inconclusive at the moment. This is one of the most expensive single infrastructure projects to be built in the region, and the idea is that the European Union, because it involves Greece, Cyprus, and of course Israel, but Greece, Cyprus as members of the EU, they qualify for what is known as the projects of common interest. And these are projects that are funded or rather co-funded by the European Union, and they need to have to fall into a certain amount of criteria, which these are infrastructure projects that are definitely cross-border projects. They involve at least 2 member states. They have a significant impact on the member states. Their impact integrates their networks and their economies. It increases competition. It opens up the market. It increases security of supply. And also, one of the other criteria is that it complies with the environmental and climate strategy of the EU. So this project that we're talking about, the Euro-Asia Interconnector, it absolutely ticks all the boxes. And over the years, because it is about to start being set at the moment, but the process of the preparation has been going on for many years, and it has already been funded by the EU. Now, at the moment, we've got a new Connecting Europe facility budget. We're talking about a budget that will cover from the years 21 to 27. And this is a vast amount of money. It's 42 billion euros, which are going to be allocated to transport, energy, and digital. Now, energy gets earmarked for about 8.7 billion. And within this budget, we're going to ask for co-funding. And I'm reaching the crux of your question. It could go anywhere from 50 or more % of its initial estimate. But the answer is not yet clear.
Okay. And what kind of value will the project generate for the economies of the 3 countries involved in this?
Yes. I mentioned something before. This is an inspiring project. This is, as I said, I did mention in the previous forum that it's an electricity highway between 2 continents. Of course, it provides benefits for everybody. Israel is in a position to export its energy towards Europe, which is through electricity, which is great. It also gets connected. Cyprus is the only EU country which is completely isolated. It is not connected with energy connected with any other country. So this breaks the energy isolation of Cyprus. Crete, as an island, is also isolated. And going to mainland Greece, the electricity is going to connect 2 parts of the Mediterranean, which is important. It's important for renewables, as I mentioned before. It creates a multi-directional flow of energy, which increases the grids. It makes the networks a lot larger, so it gives you opportunity to import when you need it, electricity. It also covers this sense of interconnectedness between the EU states. So it is a beneficial idea in every respect. More or less, this is the crux.
Okay, wonderful. Nicholas, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it once again.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's move now to His Excellency Jabdi Masima, Ambassador of the United Republic of Tanzania to Israel. Great to have you with us, as always, at another IMPROVATE conference.
Thank you very much.
So Africa has a huge renewable energy resources, a massive amount, from biomass and hydropower to geothermal, solar, and wind. But these have yet to be fully exploited. What do African countries need to do in order to achieve their renewable energy goals?
Thank you. To get the things moving, I think we need 3. We need the focus, we need the reforms, and we need investment. What do we mean? When it comes to focus, energy access to many African countries is very or remains very low. Our population average connectivity in most of the countries lies way behind, is 44%, but it lies way behind the average connectivity to developing countries, which stands at 81%. So this, what does it mean? You could find that out of around 39 billion US dollars invested on energy yearly, annually, it's less than 2 billion, which goes to the needy countries of sub-Sahara countries, including my country. So this, it shows that our priorities are somehow upside down. So we needed to see that one on the focus issue. But also, I think it's time to see the challenges which are also associated with the renewable energies. There are countries in Europe, such as Iceland, I think they are doing well as far as renewable energy is concerned. And there are countries such as Germany who have invested a lot on renewable energy, but the outcome is not to the expected investment. In Germany, for instance, I'm told, I was reading it somewhere, they do have something around 30,000 wind turbines, around 1.7 million installed solar panels. And all these, in totality, the new energy sources, they contribute around 45% of the German need. But once it comes now to production, the capacity of self, it's only an average of 17% of their energy that comes from the renewable energy. The rest comes from the old system, including importing from France and Sweden. Now, what does it mean? That yes, we are concentrating on this one, but you shouldn't also lose focus to the current or the existing installation you're having, because there are times the good investment of those days can save on those bad days and the bad hours, simply because of fluctuation. So this is the focus one should look at it. And also the second thing I think we should look at it is the issue of reforms, as I said. Reforms are of three categories. One is on taxes, which goes to our government. A number of these renewable or clean energy equipments, they're expensive. But even our countries are adding a lot of taxes on that. So what we need is either to remove or reduce taxes. I'm glad that my country, Tanzania, has done that. We don't have those, we have removed everything. So if other countries can do, this one is going to help in Africa. But the second aspect, which also need to look at it, is let me be a bit careful on this one. You could find that when it comes to cooking oil, cooking energy, or it comes to cleaning, when it comes to care in the family, women as a whole, really, we could say that women as a whole, they suffer greatly or more than women. But once it comes to energy governance, policy making, decision making, they're either left out or excluded or just ignored.
Unfortunately.
So we need to take the uniqueness of women, the need they are having, the contribution they are having, and also the knowledge of it. This one will help us on the renewable energy and energy as a whole. This is the other aspect of reform, which we need to do with the mindset reform. But the third one is on the companies themselves. I'm happy with the other companies, the way they are moving with the technology. Of course, the renewable energy it's an old technology. It's not a new one. But you could find that the pace of development is not going as the pace of other technologies. But let's talk for the issue of solar farms. You need the size of Texas, more or less, to power US. Just the size of Texas to cover the whole US, which is impossible. Yeah. That it can't be done. Or you could find that even in the UK, I was reading about some of the documents. You go to the United Kingdom, you find that you need to cover all the roofs to get just 5% of the renewable energy. This is not practical. We need to do something. So let them change. Let's ask ourselves, if the mobile phones have changed from where they were, they have removed the poles and the network we used to get it, and now we're having something on our hand. Why don't the renewable energy come with something so that we could get out from this? So I think if we could see this issue of reforms as I'm taking, this will also help. But the last one is investment, which is a problem for Africa. We really need investment. I mentioned earlier on that out of 39 million, $39 billion USD worldwide investment on renewable energy is only less than $2 billion which goes to Africa, which is very low. And if we could go to records, I was reading something on the International Energy Atomic Agency. They are predicting that in order to have a universal electrification by 2030, Africa needed to invest over 100 billion annually. This one we can't do. And out of that, 40% will go to renewable energy. That's one we can't do that. And if we go to the African Development Bank, they are talking that the chances of going to climate change, it will entail Africa to reach by 2030, we must invest something around $3 trillion US. We can't do because our GDP is at 2.3 trillion. How can you get it to 3 trillion? It's very difficult. So investment, really it can be done. Can it be done? Yes, of course, it can be done. It has been done in Europe, in Iceland, elsewhere. Why not in Africa? I think that's where we need to do. So the long and the short answer of your question is that we need focus, we need reforms, and we need also investment for Africa to succeed in electrification.
So let's bring the conversation back to Israel for a second.
Yes.
I wonder what opportunities you think there are for Israeli renewable energy companies in Africa.
Okay, I know a lot of opportunities. I think Israeli companies, now is the time for them to be part of the African success stories. If we go to Africa, Africa has the highest percentage of untapped technical hydropower potentials, of which it's only 11% of it. That's what we've already utilized. That's in Africa. The other day, I talked about also Africa. Our economy in Africa is good. Before the corona, by 2018, our economy was growing around by 4.1% before the corona. And during the corona last year, it shrank down to 1.2. And now it's coming back to 3.4. That's what they are predicting, which means that Africa is building back better from corona. So go to Africa, the economy that is sound. But Africa also could find that we are having a youthful population, and urbanized one. The prediction is by the year 2050, the youth population in Africa is going to be around 2.5 billion, which is good for us. Go to Africa, all those mineral resources, natural resources, sunshine, you find them in Africa. The problem the Germans are facing of bad weather, that there are days they are having, they don't have sunshine, there are days which is cloud, there are days they don't have wind. You don't get it in Africa. So that's the place which you could go. Even if you go to the economic scale, in terms of easy doing business in Africa, I think we are scoring high. That's where you can go. So really, Israeli companies, this is the time. Don't miss this opportunity. Don't miss it because it's a golden one, and be part of the African success story. That's what I'm appealing for the Israeli companies.
Well, I hope they're all listening to that. Ambassador Massima, thank you very much. Let's move now to Dr. Bogdan Bazga, an economist who specializes in food security and is Romania's national coordinator for the United Nations Organization for Food and Agriculture. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Global warming has a major impact on food security. What measures are required to ensure food security in the context of global warming?
Thank you for the question. Sure. We need more than one conference to answer to your question, but I will try to be more focused. And besides of that, I would like to underline what already said in this conference, that food security is the main component of the national security, whatever, for all our countries. In fact, now we are facing an extraordinary period of crisis coupled with the world's largest crisis caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. And right now it's imperative that the high technology, high science must be urgently implemented. As we see in the last years, it was tremendous. Because for the most of the countries, they have been very dry, which is happened also in Romania. And in the same time, the energy consumption has risen and the global oil prices, it's already unstable. In these conditions, in this framework, could I say, we need urgently to have some measures. And briefly, I will tell you that we need to focus on the food system for the agriculture products. We need to reduction of food loss and waste, and to improve our food security all over the globe. And another one is the technical options for reduction of carbon, of food loss and food waste, and to improve with new technologies, which Israel is the top leader in the world on this in the high technologies, especially on agriculture. To conclude, to be very shortly, we need, in fact, to don't use our resources, and to use what is example the solar, the wind, the waste, the compost and biomass, and why not the water? Because many countries, as the former president of Bulgaria said, also Romania, it's one of the richest countries. We have everything, and we have also water, but all we need clear energy and renewable energy.
Okay, Dr. Bazga, thank you for that. And please stay with us. We will get back to you shortly with some more questions.
Thank you.
Let's move now to Airovation Technologies, which is a dynamic R&D company that provides solutions for air pollution treatment and commercializes through international collaborations. It possesses IP and deep scientific know-how in the field of air purification, indoors and outdoors, and strives to harness its breakthrough air purification technology and its highly capable team to ensure people's well-being and a healthier environment. Gil Tomer is co-founder and chief operating officer at Airovation Technologies. He is an experienced executive and entrepreneur who believes that wherever there is faith, one man can change the world. Gil joined the company's founding core to challenge one of the largest threats that humanity is facing, with strong belief that in the cause that is uniting the team. Thank you so much, Gil, for joining me today.
Thank you, Lorraine.
So one of the hottest topics today is the global zero net carbon ambition. Many nations, corporates, and influencers are occupied with this challenge. Why is Airovation raising so much attention, and what does Airovation have to offer that other companies don't have?
Yeah, that is very much true. There is a lot of interest, but until not long ago, it's important to understand that we were mainly recognized by government initiatives, grant initiatives, and some in the scientific community. And it was only lately that we are witnessing an enormous movement towards the clean tech and towards specifically the greenhouse gases and the CO2 capture, the carbon dioxide captured. So suddenly we found ourselves in the center of interest, and we understand that we have now enormous opportunities open for us. Now, we need to understand that each year 40 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide are emitted to the atmosphere. And again, it's a very, very immense problem that needs different solutions. Not only one solution, there's no magical solution that will solve this out, but more like varied solutions from different industries. And there are industries like renewable energies, like electric cars, for example, that are very important solutions, but industries will continue emitting CO2 to the atmosphere regardlessly. So there are other solutions that are needed. And another very important solution, one of the important solutions in this field, is carbon capture. Carbon capture is a well-known practice of binding, in chemical reaction, binding the CO2 into minerals or into materials. Now, the captured carbon then needs to be dealt with sequestration or liquefying or storage or even transport. And all of these solutions are new problems that are caused from the capturing of the carbon. So what we bring, the solution that we bring to the table is a very, very efficient absorbent or a very efficient capturing into the minerals. And now we have valuable minerals. So we turn carbon into value, essentially. And We did not invent this practice, but we brought it to a stage or improved it into a stage. It is highly efficient and now can be scalable and can also create economical feasibility and economical profit. And this is maybe the big breakthrough and the big change that we are bringing to the table.
Interesting. So who exactly is your target audience? What problems are you looking to solve, and what reactions do you get from the field about your innovations?
That's interesting. The natural audience of ours is the fertilizer companies, because we can harness our chemistry and harness our very efficient solution that is happening in 1 second, as opposed to other technologies that need to recycle and to just revert the action time and again. We can create a very efficient capturing. And in this capturing, we create a carbonate that is a valuable fertilizer that's already been used, and there is a demand in the global markets for this specific fertilizer. So our target audience will be the first allies, natural allies will be the fertilizer companies, will be all those companies who are already distributing or manufacturing globally these materials and have interest specifically in those minerals. But they see multiple matches in collaborating with us because, first of all, they treat the CO2, so it's better PR for them, of course, and better public image. But on top of that, they want to meet future and already current regulation coming from the authorities dealing with CO2. And ultimately, they want to expand their market reach by using and utilizing our minerals in their global markets. So they will be the first customers. Later on, we see that we can actually treat each and every factory that is emitting carbon dioxide. Okay, we aim first to catch those who aim high concentrations of carbon dioxide and relatively clean carbon dioxide in order for us to be in our best and in order for us to be very valuable with a value proposition that we bring to the table. Lastly, but maybe not less important, is the fact that we can create a circular economy. So for example, imagine a glass factory. Okay, and this glass factory is emitting CO2 constantly, but on the other hand, they want to use the raw materials that are the minerals that we create as byproduct of the treatment of the CO2. So we want to create a circular economy that is using the CO2 coming from the very factory that we treat and give it back for reuse of the minerals.
Gil, one of the main typical difficulties in the carbon capture field is the economics. In most cases, it generates an operational loss and rarely reaches neutrality. How does your solution break that paradigm?
Yeah, that is correct. And so maybe the best well-known fact about carbon capture is the fact that it requires enormous capital expenses. And later on, it requires a lot of operational expenses. So one of the biggest advantages of our technology is the fact that we are treating on spot, meaning we can create a very small, relatively small footprint of a plant that will treat the carbon dioxide emissions. And then it will be relatively cheaper or relatively less consuming in the capital expenses. And now when we're looking about the operational expenses, the fact that we're creating those valuable minerals that are used for fertilizer industries, for other industries like glass, for example, and also be used even for food substances, then those minerals will create a profitable process or a profitable equation, which is a big breakthrough in the field of carbon capture, of carbon dioxide capturing.
So ultimately, what are Airovation's goals, and when will we be seeing you commercially active?
All right. So our mission is to create an environment in which people can breathe freely in a healthy environment. And for that, we need to create alliances, because we understand that no just one mayor, not just one company can tackle this big challenge. It requires collaborations. So we are now working on those collaborations. We already have the first pilot in plan, already going into field in 3 months. And we intend to be treating up to 1.8 million tons of CO2 in 5 years from now, creating usable minerals on the other side.
And how do you intend to take the lead in the global race for reaching net zero carbon emissions?
All right, so we do not intend to take the lead of that.
Okay.
We just intend to take the lead in a subdomain of the carbon capture that is called carbon capture utilization and mineralization. So our technology is a powerful mineralizing technology. And our big breakthrough is not, again, we did not invent it, but we improved it to a scale in which we can mineralize very efficient process, low consumption of energy, of course. And then on the other hand, on the other side, we'll produce valuable minerals. And by that, we see a lot of interest coming from global players. And this is how we intend to position ourselves as the spearhead of carbon capture, utilization, and mineralization.
Thank you for clarifying that for us, Gil. We really appreciate you being with us today.
Sure, my pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, let's go back now to Dr. Bogdan Bazga. Are you still with us, sir?
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. So can you also explain to us the relationship between energy prices and food prices? And can clean energy play a role in reducing food prices? What do you think?
It's very, very connected. In fact, the food prices are direct connected to the use of energy. And we see also in the transport, as an example, the transport of for the fruit products between cities, but also between countries. One of the most important and the significant decree for the prices, it was done by the conventional energy, which was obtained from oil, versus we need to think to use more the energy produced by wind, by solar energy, and why not biomass? In fact, the future, we think, and I personally think that it will be, and it is the clean energy and renewable energy. And I will give you a small example. And just thinking, for example, for the channels for irrigation, along those channels, and example in Romania, we use regular energy produced by the atomic or water. But if along of those channels we will use to produce energy by solar or some small factories which transform the compost and biomass in energy, will be a huge step. In fact, investing in those systems, I think personally, must be an asset. And we also now we're facing some risk and vulnerabilities due to the fact that we're facing the climate changes. And the unique mode is to adapt all of our technology. And I will give also 3 principal solutions: invest in high technology, more than 3 times I said. Another one very important is PPP, public-private partnership. And last but not the least, it's research, development, and most important, the innovation. Food price volatility is another potential impact of the climate change. His magnitude of impacts of extreme events given by the climate change are direct affect our agriculture. In fact, in the recent food prices, all we see in this moment with the COVID-19 crisis, also it was a news, but not only for the FAO, OECD, but mainly the UN with the General Secretary of the United Nations, which said that we need to focus for the food security all over the world. In conclusion, it's very, very well connected, the prices, the volatility of prices with climate change and with clean energy.
All right, Dr. Bazga, thank you once again for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let's move now to Konstantinos Daskalopoulos, who is the first Secretary for Economic and Commercial Affairs at the Embassy of Greece in Tel Aviv, where he has been posted since September 2019. He's involved in bilateral relations of Israel and Greece concerning energy, innovation, maritime policies, science, technology, environment, trade, communications, transport, and more. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Nice seeing you.
Nice seeing you as well. So the EU is committed to slashing its greenhouse emissions and achieving a renewable energy share over 30% by 2030. What role will Greece play in this, and how can Israel work with Greece specifically and with the EU in general to play a part in this important project?
Well, thanks for the question, and thanks for inviting us to share our thoughts into this great cause that we have in front of us. And having said that, I have to share with you that Greece is a member of the European Union from 1977. That means that we have been involved in all common policies that European Union had promoted the last years, and we were among those who initially thought that we have to deal with climate change. Now we are in front of a project that combines financing, combines forces from private sector and the public sector. And we have to admit that maybe promoting policies for climate change is the example of how the states and European Union had been in advance of what private sector had promoted. This means that the governments have found that we need to structure policies directed to change the way we think we do business. We have to change the way that we are going to change this world for the next generations. We have destroyed our environment. We have experiences. I mean, lately we've seen Israel facing a very a great deal of in its sort of environmental catastrophe, and that's why we focused in changing the way we do business. European Union now had promoted a very great package of transformation in this sector by allocating investments in renewable energy. Greece, for the next 5 years only, has around 30 billion euros to allocate in these policies. That's why from 2000 we have really accelerated our policies in this sector, and we managed to achieve the 15% goal of producing energy, not in 2021 as it was before, 2014 as it was before, stated with the European policies, but in 2013. Now the goal in 2030 seems likely to be achieved, since for the next years we have a great amount of investments in projects to be implemented. And I have to say that Greece is a niche market in order to produce and to initiate programs that combine innovation in this sector, because Greece has a great number of islands which they are isolated, and they need to be connected with many ways with the continental Greece. That's why we are initiated innovative programs to that towards to that goal. Israel, I mean, I'm in 1.5 years in Israel, and what I've seen is that here, the startup nation has been very advanced in promoting programs that combine climate change policies into new technologies. That's why we see, and we experience already, academics, institutions, companies, joint ventures that already they are implementing programs with Greece, even with Horizon 2020, a very successful program that Israeli companies and institutions have been championed in achieving and grabbing this opportunity. So we are optimistic that towards the next years, we will see this collaboration being strengthened. And one last thing, Greece, Israel, and Cyprus, they have been together with the 3+1 initiative. +1 means USA. We are having innovation, energy as our first goals in order to promote it together. And it's a great opportunity to join forces in this region towards a great goal.
Great. Thank you so much, sir. And please stay with us. We will come back to you shortly.
Thank you.
All right, moving now to Phinergy, which has developed a unique metal air technology for energy generation and storage. It uses metals as a clean energy source. The technology has several applications, including backup energy systems for critical sites, batteries for range extension in electric vehicles, and low-cost energy storage for renewable solar and wind energy. Phinergy has recently completed an IPO at the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, and David Mayer is Phinergy's CEO since 2017. He's been involved in the clean tech and energy sector for several years now. Thank you so much for joining me today, sir.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Of course.
I think first I need to explain something that many people are actually not aware of.
All right,
go ahead. What is this? When most people look at this, they think, this is a block of metal. I mean, why are you showing this? But I say, no, this is energy. Here in this piece of metal, we have a lot of energy stored. And we have developed over the last 10 years of many chemists and about 500 man-hours a way to extract energy out of the metals, or in another way, release the energy out of the metal.
So what exactly does that mean? How do you do something like that?
Well, it is complicated to explain naturally, so I would like to explain, with your permission, in a very simplistic way.
Please.
So it will take me not more than 1.5 hours.
I don't know if we have that much.
No, I'm just joking. So what we do is the following. Imagine to yourself that to extract energy out of metals, and this is rather known, you need to somehow oxidize the metal. But how does it work in a regular battery? Imagine that maybe a scuba diver. A scuba diver, he is diving, and he's carrying the oxygen with him when he's under the water, and he's breathing the oxygen in his scuba tank. But what happens when his scuba tank is empty? He needs to go back up and renew the scuba tank. But what does fish do? Fish, they swim in the water, and they use their gills to, in real time, extract the oxygen out of the water in order for their blood to be oxidized, and then they have energy. This is what we have done. We've basically developed a special membrane, or if you like, artificial gills of fish. And this is what we know how to do, only in real time. And only when we want the battery to do so, we know how to take from the ambient air around us the oxygen, oxidize this metal, and extract a lot of energy, of course, in a very clean way and affordable way, because we use aluminum. Aluminum is 8% of the Earth's crust. It is abundant.
So you've explained for us what it means to generate electricity from metals, but how does your technology work exactly?
I would say, imagine to yourself somewhere, someplace, a lot of energy, that the energy is transformed between the metal, the membrane, and to whatever you need. This is how it works all together in a very unique way, and this works with many types of metals, not only with aluminum, but also with zinc and other metals. And the most important part here to understand is that these metals are not unique. Many times we think about other types of metals, we all know to phrase them lithium or cobalt or other type of things, but they are rare. And this is not rare, and this is how it is being used in a very easy way.
So please tell us a little bit about the applications of your technology, where it can be used.
Sure. In order to explain it in a simplistic way, I hope we have a movie running in the background. What we are showing...
I can confirm that we do. Please continue.
Thank you. This is what we see now here in the movie is actually already a certified system, because we are not only doing development, we are already selling products. And this system is used for critical infrastructure, because everybody is connected to the grid. But what happens when the grid fails? We do need some types of backups. People today use diesel generators, lead-acid batteries. We're using something else. And in this system here, we have hundreds of kilowatt hours of energy, which is much, much better than other things that we see today. The same technology is used in the e-mobility. And here we see a program we have with Mahindra Electric in the Far East. And we are doing electric mobility with them. And this vehicle used to drive with regular electric technology, the range of like 100 kilometers. With this high energy density, it is driving now 400 kilometers. This is a lot. It is a huge, huge, huge difference. And I'm glad to say in this manner that we truly hope that the world will follow, having metals, which is all around us, all around the world, and transform this into energy, even in the e-mobility, which is a very difficult market. And in this manner, I'm glad to say that even today, we signed with 2 new auto manufacturers to do the same thing, because this is a reality here today already. The last thing that we do with our systems is we found out that actually the same system, the same membrane, the same gills of fish can do something very different. What is that? They can store energy. And when we look today at photovoltaic farms or wind turbines, I think mankind knows how to harvest the energy. But we don't know how to store it in a cost-effective way if we want complete day, complete night, winter to summer. Because today the technologies is just not there. But we can do it today, and we are already having a program now that we're showing here in Israel, which is a hub for energy technologies, together with Doral Group, and we are going to lay down in their photovoltaic farm a system which will reduce the cost of storing energy. Because when we look at renewable energy, we think this is currently the missing part, because we know how to extract it from the sun, but we don't know how to store it. And this is a big block, and the same technology, if you made the same gills of fish, they know how to do it.
David Mayer, thank you so much for your insights today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Konstantinos, back to you. Thank you for hanging on. Here we are again. So you were involved in the implementation of the new construction code in Greece on respecting environmental regulations. How important is legislation in promoting a Greek agenda, or can it just be left to market forces?
Well, as mentioned before, market forces are there. They're ready to engage their initiative, their spirit of creating things, but without the framework that will allow them to go to the targets that will be the best for organizing a society, we can do anything. I mean, it can be a jungle easily, but we're not going to get to the goals that they've been set by those who they see and they have the vision. So having said that, European Union, as mentioned before, had initiated regulations, legislatures that they are streamlining the goals. So Greece from 1986 was being engaged, and we adopted the laws concerning this framework. The main goal in Greece, it was to embed the European Union policies in an environment that it wasn't organized. I mean, building in Greece, it was very difficult. During the 50s, it was adopted different legislatures that they didn't organize well the new state. But that's why it was a double stake to just try to figure out how to organize again the cities and the new developments. And remember that in Greece, we have every year around 33 million tourists that they are coming. So when we said that we're going to create sustainable development means and ways in order to build our new houses, hotels, corridors and everything, we need to think that every summer, and rather 10 months per year, we have to help our visitors in order to enjoy the islands and all these needs. So we managed to create laws that now they are example for other countries in the region, And we are proud to say that we have been in the lead in promoting policies that now our representatives in European Union, they help out to promote it as well. Also, the European Union Court, which is, I'm proud to say that among all the organized societies, we have been implemented and produced a jurisprudence that now it's showcasing for other countries all over the world. Greece has not been in this area. I mean, we haven't violated the European Union's laws in this sector the last 10 years, and we are proud that now we can promote policies and being engaged in other countries that they need our help in promoting such kind of legislatures.
All right, I want to talk about electric vehicles for a second. We don't have much time, so please briefly tell us how you see the role of electric vehicle technologies, such as what we've seen today.
So I'm going to surprise you telling you that one of the not big cities in Greece, which is in the north of Greece, named is Trikala, and actually the mayor of Trikala, when this pandemic will end, is going to visit Israel and has affiliation with Tel Aviv municipality because it's the first city that they have electrical vehicles. And not only that, Mobily will be happy by saying that, they have a small minibus without drivers and electric bus, and they are the ones who promoting and as a pilot program this initiative. Greece has adopted, this project. Of course, it's a pilot project already, but it's a stake, and especially in cities like Athens and Thessaloniki in the north, we are looking forward to adopt special policies in order to promote this idea. However, I think Israel is way ahead in this, and we're going to need to combine forces as well in that sector.
Well, it sounds like that is definitely the future, Konstantinos.
It is by all means.
Thank you very much for joining me today.
Looking forward to that. Thank you.
All right, let's move now to His Excellency Yael Vilan, who's Israel's ambassador to Serbia. He's a professional diplomat, having served in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs since 1996. Before being appointed to Belgrade, Ambassador Vilan served as ambassador to Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Malawi, and Seychelles. He also served in Eastern Europe, in Hungary and Poland from 2005 to 2010. Thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. It was a real pleasure to see some of colleagues from the African Embassy in Israel, very good friends. So I'm very happy to be on this occasion of combining Africa and Southern Europe.
Wonderful. We're very happy to have you today. So over the next 5 years, Serbia is planning to add 1 gigawatt of wind farm capacity, a sector where Israeli companies already have a strong presence in the country. Tell us more about Serbia's green energy agenda and its ambitious wind farm plans.
Well, Serbia, as part of its commitment to the Paris Agreement, and of course, as the process of admission to the EU, is obliged to reduce the very heavy dependent on coal and with all the of course the implications in that regard. So it's adapting this green policy for the next decade or so. At the moment, renewable energy is constituted of only 21%. They wish to have it a bit higher, like around 27%. And the idea that by 2050 it will reach 40% of the energy that Serbia will consume, out of which we are, as you mentioned, we are very happy that already Enlight company is involved, one of the biggest investor actually in the wind farm sector. In 2019, wind energy comprises 65% of all renewable energies in Serbia, and we see a big potential for. You also mentioned this goal of 1 gigawatt of energy from wind. I do hope that Israel, with our well-known capabilities will also be part of solar energy and other solutions, because no doubt that this is the future here in Serbia and of course in other countries as well.
Sir, Serbia is undergoing massive modernization of its water treatment plants, which of course can be powered by renewable energy. What opportunities exist there for Israeli companies specifically?
Well, I assume, again, as part of the regulations of EU, Serbia at the moment has, out of 350 water treatment plants, only 10 which are under the criteria of standardization of the EU. So there is a big potential of all others. And again, I think Israel should get involved not only on this aspect of energy for these plants, but also on our well-known solutions for water treatment. And absolutely, we are seeing ourselves as an important partners for Serbia. This is one of the issues that was raised in my first meeting with the Prime Minister, how Israel can contribute to this very important issue of Serbia getting into the needed standardization in water treatment.
All right, Yahel Vilan, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And once again, I want to thank you for these initiatives to connect us with Israel. Again, I think this is a huge potential. I'm sure you know, but late January, we had a very interesting and important phone call between our Minister of Energy, Mr. Steinitz, and the ministers from the region. And I think also the issue of the natural gas is one of the topics that Israel will cooperate with this region in the coming years. So thank you very much.
A very important issue. Thank you once again. Okay, let's move now to Qnergy, who's bringing to market a maintenance-free power generator. It helps fight climate change and helps resiliency. Let's take a look.
Welcome to the new era of remote power. Qnergy's power generators, known as PowerGen, are an innovative technological system designed to generate the most reliable power in the most remote locations. Qnergy's PowerGen provides high-efficiency power while needing practically zero maintenance. How? Standard internal combustion engines need regular oil changes, maintenance, and repair due to all their moving parts. We've solved this problem with our proprietary free-piston Stirling engine. Using our frictionless Stirling engine design, we create reliable power that lasts for years, with no oil or maintenance required. A sealed cycle with expanding and contracting helium drives a frictionless piston on our patented flexure springs. This oscillates a magnet at 63 times per second to generate clean electrical power. All you need is a heat source to heat the helium, and you never have to refill. Gas in, power out. It's that simple. Our PowerGen is the reliable energy resource you've been missing. It's the most affordable remote power on the market. It only needs a 1-hour inspection once per year. Can be operated remotely from your phone with an engine that can easily operate non-stop for many years. And emissions so low, you don't even need to worry about permits. Let Qnergy provide you with the most reliable remote power available. For more information, visit Qnergy.com.
With us now is physicist Dr. Ori Zeek, who serves as CEO at Qnergy and has extensive leadership experiences in renewable energy and energy efficiency. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
So what makes Qnergy's engine maintenance free?
It's one of those things that are very easy to probably understand, but hard to build. Think about it this way. Most people own a car and a refrigerator. You don't typically think about it, but you own those two things. Your car requires periodic maintenance for oil change and this type of things because it's an internal combustion engine. You have a combustion process happening in your engine. Your refrigerator has also an engine. It has a sealed compressor, but you never think about maintaining your refrigerator. So our engines are sealed, just like a compressor in a refrigerator. Nothing comes in, nothing goes out. And by definition, it's very, very reliable. You put it wherever you want and you get energy for hundreds of thousands of hours, tens of thousands of hours, sorry. It's so reliable, by the way, that NASA issued a press release about a year ago, after working with our engines for 14 years, this is the most reliable heat engine ever invented. So when you think about putting a power source on the moon, for example, we are the prime candidate because of this reliability. But the key is to have an engine which is sealed to the environment.
And with that said, why do you think Qnergy has succeeded where so many companies have failed before?
So the Stirling, we use a technology called the Stirling engine. It's a fascinating story. The actual invention is about 200 years ago. So for 200 years, people knew about this possibility. The reason we succeeded when others tried and failed is we've been on it for a long time. Some of our engineers are working on this for about 2 decades or more, invested hundreds of millions of dollars in perfecting the technology. And then in the last probably 10 years, solar inverters became very cheap. So we combined the electronics of a solar inverter with the mechanics of this engine to build what we've built. What you see here is an example from 2 weeks ago. There was a storm in Texas, and many people lost their power, unfortunately. Our customers, which are shown here, had the full power. We don't lose power. We work at temperatures of -40, so the -4 in Texas we didn't even feel it. So it's very, very reliable. And the reason is, again, staying on the problem and combining electronics with mechanics. Another example of their resiliency is, this is a swamp in Louisiana where our engine have been experienced more than 2 hurricanes in a few years. And again, it just works.
And Dr. Zeke, what are your growth plans going forward from here?
So we've been in the market with this technology for about 3 years, and we constantly reduce our cost and therefore our price. So our growth plan is to address larger and larger markets as our prices go down. So for example, we're now working with the telecom industry. You can see this is a cell tower actually in Alaska, a place that during the winter is very, very cold. This is a pig farm in Mexico where we take animal waste and turn it into clean energy. And again, our growth plan is to reduce our cost and go to larger and larger markets, whether it's residential, telecom, small businesses, farms, as you see here, and so on.
Okay, Ori, Zeke, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Let's move back now to Nicholas Christodoulides. Thank you for staying with us. Well, after watching that presentation by Qnergy, how are you in Greece integrating green remote power solutions such as that technology we just looked at?
Right. Yes, it's an interesting question. No, I was very impressed with Qnergy, indeed. We need to work on this. I mean, this is I'm not entirely prepared to answer this at the moment, but I think we're always interested in looking into new technologies in this respect. I mean, as we've talked in the studio before, we take great store by renewables, and we definitely are interested in incorporating new technologies and creating synergies between Israeli startups and investors who would like to take care of their needs in this respect. So yes.
Okay, Nicholas, thank you for that. Now to you, Ambassador Massima. How significant can full utilization of renewable energy resources be to the Tanzanian economy?
Thank you. Renewable energy is an integral part of our economic growth. for countries like Tanzania, whom we are looking forward to becoming an industrial economy by 2025. As of now, we are almost at 87.5% access in energy, if you could compare with the figures which I had initially of developing countries, which are at 81. So that is one. But how have we reached there? It was a milestone. For the past 5 years, intensively, we've been doing a lot on energy, specifically on energy. I could talk a number of villages, as big as it is in Tanzania. Before 2015, because the yard mark is 5 years, before 2015, the number of villages which you are connected were around 2018. Out of 12,259, can you imagine? But for the past 5 years, we've managed to connect over 7,019 villages, which has made to the 87.5%, which I was talking about. So this has been a massive project on rural energy. But in addition to that, we have embarked on a hydropower, a lot of energy sources, including a grand hydroelectric power at the cost of 2.9 billion, which upon completion next year by June to be completed, is going to generate around 2,115 megawatts in the country. So for the current production which you are having in the country, which is 1,604, and then you're having an addition, 2,105, this is really more than what we need. But still, our target is to go to somewhere around 1.1 gig. That is the target. It's a tall order, but we are going to reach it there. Now, what is the problem we are facing? Once we come to renewable energy, I indicated earlier on that we have removed the taxes and on renewable energy equipment, but still the installation charges are very high in our country. You could take for a solar farm in Tanzania, to get a 1 kilowatt from a solar farm in Tanzania, you are looking for something around $2,000 to $3,700, which is a lot for us. If you look for wind farm, you are talking something around $2,000 to $3,000, and for natural gas is around 1,000. So this is a tall order for our ordinary people. We need to do something. So the world should help us. We've done that in reducing and removing taxes in our country. Now those manufacturers or the source where these are coming from, they should top up. They should do something because the costs are very high. Because once we are talking of renewable energies, we are aiming at the rural areas. So in my country, once you do that one, for instance, now, as the initiative is going on, we have managed at least to protect around 400 acres annually, which was being deforested. So now we are saving our forest and our ecology. So please do something on that renewable energy, because it's really going to the rural area whom are much affected. I think that's what we need to ask from the international world.
Okay, thank you very much, Ambassador Masima. It's always a pleasure to have you here.
Don't mention it.
And one last question for you, President Plevneliev. How are you doing over there?
Great. I'm learning a lot.
All right. Well, you've been with us throughout today's broadcast, so I have to ask if you have a few closing words for us here at IMPROVATE.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I was very proud with all the world leaders to put my signature on the Paris Climate Accords. That is a plan for the planet, and we need to be very ambitious, and we need to bring results. I was also very proud to be part of the global consensus on the SDGs 2030. And if somebody is telling you there is no consensus on the planet, it's not true. If somebody is telling you there is no plan, it's not true again. We do have a consensus, and we do have a plan. And that is why I'm very optimistic. Yes, time is pressuring us. Yes, we need to act now. Yes, there is not going to be a second chance. If you think about our children, we need to act right now. And yes, the race, I would call the race is on, because countries will be given and taken chances. And those countries like Israel, hopefully European Union, United States, many others who understand that they need to lead, but not to leave anybody behind. So Africa is extremely important. The planet needs, and that continent, the future belongs to him. So we are pressed to deliver, and governments don't have much time, because what is needed today, I would say, is ambitious, clean tech oriented infrastructure and platform for investments in clean tech-oriented economy and infrastructure, and the race is on for that. You heard the ambitious plans of Greece, of Romania, Bulgaria. Southeast Europe is a great place to be today because there is so much going on there, and on the Serbia too, and many other countries. On the other side, Africa is having their great ambitions too. Israel is leading. And I would come back at the end to, today we talked a lot about Texas and His Excellency, the Ambassador of Tanzania, but also this Israeli company that was saying Texas was dark, but our lights are moving on. Well, if you really study what happened in Texas, I think 2 weeks ago, come on, Texas is such a rich area of the United States. They have so much petrol and gas, they're exporting, they're producing shale gas. Why the hell is that they had this huge blackout in front of the rest of all the world? And to me, a very simple explanation to that is because of a failing infrastructure, poor. Actually, I studied the case to realize that actually Texas was not well connected to other American states. And when a difficult time comes, they were left in a very, very difficult situation without no electricity. We're not talking about other countries. We're talking about the United States. Even the United States is sentenced to, and it needs to invest in a new clean tech, sustainable infrastructure that brings a new economy. And I'm sure that the President Biden saw that, and this very ambitious plan is something that is a great hope to all of us, that the United States is coming in the game. The European Union is very strong on that. China has extremely ambitious plans, and everybody is there in the new economy coming with the new technologies in place, and the investments, the opportunities are today. So let's work together and make sure that we hit all those targets we agreed, so that our children, we can look them in our eyes and say, we've done something.
Okay, President Rosen Plevneliev, thank you so much for your closing words, and thank you for sticking around for our entire broadcast today. We really appreciate it.
It's an honor. Thank you.
And thank you to all our guests in studio and everyone who joined us on Zoom today. That's it from IMPROVATE's International Cleantech and Renewable Energy Conference. We've heard today from environment, energy, and infrastructure ministers from Israel, Europe, and Africa, from top experts in the field of renewable energy, and from leading Israeli technology companies. IMPROVATE is all about access and connections, exposing Israeli tech leaders to governments and companies around the world to promote businesses whose goal is innovation. The exposure right here at this conference is the first step, and the next step, delegations and real-world business connections. We want to thank you all for taking part and hope this is just the start of doing business together, making technology accessible to all and improving the lives of people across the world. Keep an eye out for IMPROVATE's Homeland Security Conference. Thank you for joining us today.